July 13th. It's Tuesday, July 13th, 2021 at 7 p.m. And I call this meeting of the Wellfleet Select Board to order. This meeting will be held via Zoom video conference in accordance with the temporary suspension of and enhancement of the open meeting law requirements by Governor Baker and I guess by the legislature now. The first item on the agenda is announcements, open session, and public comments. Please note that public comments must be brief. The board will not deliberate or vote on any matter raised solely during announcements and public comments. Okay, Chief Hurley.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have a few brief comments. Number one, just a reminder for the public, the South Wellfleet General Store lot is kind of being overrun this summer due to the DCR parking being closed. And we just want to remind the public there is a 2-hour limit on the town spaces down there, and we are, patrolling through there and taking any enforcement as necessary. It's just as they say, the perfect storm down there with the DCR lot being closed. So it's been a frustrating summer. It's been busy, but we just ask for your patience, especially down there. And the second item, I just wanted to thank my staff for the July 4th weekend. It's been quite a ride already. And again, we just ask for the public's patience. There's a lot of people, a lot of traffic. And right now we are just over 1,000 calls for service more than we were this time last year. So with less staff, it's been challenging, but they've really stepped up to the plate and have been doing a great job. So I just want to recognize that and also thank the fire department for buying us lunch over the July 4th weekend up at Cahoon. Thank you, Chief.
Chief, is the 1,000 over the calls, were you up last year as well from the previous year, or is it 1,000 above?
I ran the 3-year average. I mean, last year was a little less due to COVID, but the 3-year average, we're averaging 800 to 1,000 calls above normal for this time of year. It was a very busy winter and spring for us. About as busy as I've ever seen it.
Okay, thank you. Anything else for public comments? Okay, not seeing any. We're on to COVID-19 updates and recommendations. I think I saw Hillary log on. Hillary, you here?
I'm here. I'm just gonna turn my screen back on.
Okay.
Sorry. And close their door, apparently. Okay, sorry about that. So let's see. We have been working on our reopening plan since before town meeting, and it's now finally coming to you. And at the same time as we're seeing a uptick of cases in Provincetown, and Truro had 2 cases as of this afternoon, 1 in a tourist traveler and 1 in a resident. So COVID is still here, and it seems like when there's large gatherings, that's when we're going to see the most problems. I don't think that's anything new for us, but that being said, this is the plan that we worked out. And before I get into any detail on it, I just want to make sure you've all seen a copy of it.
Yes, but it is on the agenda later.
Oh, okay.
This is just COVID, Hill.
Oh, okay. Well, then that's all I've got for COVID.
Okay, and we had some breakthrough stuff in Provincetown.
Yeah, that's
anything in Wellfleet at all?
Nothing that's come through yet. There were some cases of the vaccine breakthrough in the Provincetown cluster that we've seen, and as far as I know, the folks in Truro were unvaccinated.
Okay. Ryan Curley?
So you would probably know this, Hillary. So the cluster in Provincetown, that included both unvaccinated and vaccinated?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Because, yes, there's some people that think it, yeah. you know.
So I guess what we know about the vaccine, what we're seeing is that it's not 100% effective, and we didn't believe that it would be. The people are getting sick with symptoms. They're not ending up in the hospital, and they're certainly not dying at this point, but they are symptomatic and they can transmit the symptoms to other people.
Thank you.
Okay, thanks, Hillary. And do we know if it's a variant, the Delta variant, or we don't know?
Unfortunately, they don't tell us that. I think we're assuming it's the Delta variant because that's the one that the Pfizer and Moderna are least effective against.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so looks like that's it for that. Okay, next on the agenda is public hearings. These are shellfish hearings, so I'll be recusing myself. And Janet, the vice
Yep.
chair.
I will take over.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Michael. So next up is the continued aquaculture grant extensions for Pat and Chelsea Winslow. And I will start with our shellfish constable, Nancy Chavetta, describing this.
So this was something that the select board decided that they wanted to see a better map, and select board member Curley wanted to, or didn't particularly, was unsure about the boundary. So he went out to Pat Winslow's grant, and they came up with a compromise that seems to work. And I included in your packet a map that Pat did of his grant with the boundaries, and then one kind of showing the area and the 3 different grant extensions out on Field Point, the 2 that you've already granted, and Pat's, just to show, you know, better that these do not seem like they're going to interfere with wild fishing or recreational boating.
Right, and the harbor master was with you then too, right? No.
That's correct. Yes.
Yes,
Will
he
and I
did.
both
Okay,
went
he
out
went-
there after
so he-
Ryan had gone out there.
Yeah, so he agreed
Yep.
to it also. He's happy. He's happy
Yep.
too. Are there any questions from or concerns with anybody in the audience? Okay. Well, may I have a motion?
Okay, I have a corrected motion. So if I may, Madam Chair.
Yes.
Okay. I move to approve a grant extension of approximately 0.45 acres to grant 09-01 for Patrick and Chelsea Winslow.
Okay. All right. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye. Oh,
Aye.
Helen, you have your hand up. I thought you were saying aye. All right. You're on mute. You're on mute.
Better I'm on mute than you hear what goes on when I'm not. Thank you. So once again, we have this continued 2 weeks ago. And during that time, this board has not had the community discussion and participated fully in the discussions, the community discussions that were begun by the Shellfish Advisory Board. And although this is a perfect application, and I appreciate that these are very small extensions. And let me just confirm something. Nancy Chavetta, I'm going to hold up to the screen what I think you were just referring to.
Okay.
Is this the document that shows the 3 extensions?
Can you move it up a little, Helen?
Yes.
No,
sorry.
no.
Is it the black and white one?
Hold on. I just had it up. Let me just.
I just want to be
Oh,
sure, because
hold
I
on.
looked at this, of course, very carefully. And
The color one is the one where the contour line that shows kind of like the edge of the channel.
yes,
So the contour line being the edge of the channel, that is the color one,
that shows the other 2 extensions.
and shows the other 2 extensions and their proximity to the channel and their overall acreage.
Yes. Okay, so I'm just confirming that. And one can see that some of them are larger than others, but once again, if we approve these, and it's a perfect application, which I appreciate, why should we not approve all the others as they come to us? The decision to do first come, first served, or however to allocate extensions or even brand new grants has not been made by this board, has not been discussed. And although we might proceed just as the last 3 grants have been approved, finally, after discussing it and really thinking about it, we haven't done that. And the whole issue about boundaries, the whole issues about whether we should do it case by case or not, has not formally been made. Therefore, I wish that we weren't doing this tonight. I wish that the other 2 applicants had said, we need to do this first. And that's all I need to say right now, with no prejudice against the applicants. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, so we have a motion and a
Yeah.
second. Oh, all right,
I did,
John.
I did.
So
did
John, do you know how to raise your hand in mechanically? Oh, there you are. Okay, you just raised it. All right.
Yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, I agree with Helen, except for the fact that we've already approved 2 people. We really do need to, when we tackle future business tonight, schedule a public hearing at a select board meeting as soon as the open meeting law allows us to do so, to discuss this very subject. But in the meantime, I just kind of think it might be unfair to have approved the previous 2 grant extensions and then deny this one. It's really, up to us to schedule a public hearing and get this nailed down. That's all I had.
Yeah,
Sorry.
I agree.
May I say one more
no.
thing?
Yeah.
Yes, thank you, Janet. The previous 2 applicants have the option of stepping forward and saying, you know what, we've applied for this, we've gone this far, you've approved it, but we're going to hit the pause button and wait to see what the community decides. That is the option. I'm not even saying that Mike Devasto and Shay Murphy should do that, but that is an option. It could have happened at any point. Thank you.
So I don't have the dates in front of me, but I think those people applied previous to June. And again, there's been no mention. So you talk about the community, they need to step up, I suppose. But this, to me, part of the reason we have shellfish grants is to let young people, younger than me, make a good living from these grants. And I don't see why this 4.45 acre grant extension, I think it's been a tough year and you got to get it going. So I don't see any reason to postpone, especially since the Shellfish Advisory Board has not really brought it before us. Maybe Helen, you consider yourself the person bringing before us, but
No.
you mentioned, okay, all right.
So,
So
Madam Chair,
I think,
it was brought before us on April 22nd in a very good memorandum and asked for repeatedly by me twice during our meetings to have one of these meetings.
it was
Okay.
brought before the select board.
Yes, the select board got an excellent memorandum from the Shellfish Constable and
Okay, I remember it now.
Harbor Master
All right.
on April 22nd. It was sent to us. And then I twice brought up the need for this kind of discussion. So it was before us, but I'm only one person on this board. I'm just speaking clearly about my point of view. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, so we've had a motion, we've had it seconded.
Madam Chair, Patrick Winslow has his hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Patrick, go ahead.
Yes, I would just like to thank everybody for having me here tonight. And just like to say that I feel like my application was submitted prior to the memo from the harbor master and the shelters constable the middle of April. And I followed all the rules with the shellfishing regulations in town. I've had my farm for over 12 years. I'm a member of this community. I've got 3 children in the schools. I have served on a couple boards in town. And I feel like this discussion has been had. I participated at the Shelters Advisory Board meeting on June 4th. I told the advisory board that I was one of the people applying for the extension, and I didn't hear anything about anybody wanting these not to go through. I heard a lot about buoy markers and things along that nature, but I really don't understand how there's some negative effect to an industry that seems to be doing a pretty good job of keeping young families in town. And that's all I got to say.
Good. Yeah, thank you for summarizing that and giving me the timeline. Okay, so motion has been seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Ryan, I.
Janet, aye.
John,
John, aye.
Helen, I always vote last because I used to have a
Okay,
delay.
we've all gone. Okay, so Helen, aye. All right, motion
No,
passed.
Helen, I'm sorry, Helen, nay, I'm out of it, sorry.
Yeah, that's important. Okay,
Yes, right.
so 3, 4, 1 against. Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you, guys. Congratulations, Patrick.
Thank you.
Okay, now we have the grant renewal for Michael Devasto and Michael Ramsdale, if he wants to speak to that. Any questions? I'll let Nancy talk about this one too. Where'd Nancy
Okay,
go?
I was looking to see if Jeannie was on here. So
She
this
is.
happened,
Yeah.
is
Okay.
she?
Yes,
Yes,
she's
yeah.
here.
Are you there? Yeah. Okay. Jean, do you want to speak to this?
Is she muted?
She is muted. She's got to get unmuted. There she goes.
Nancy can speak to this. Thank you.
Okay.
All right, I just didn't want to step on any toes.
No, you know the whole story.
So in 2016, evidently, there was a public hearing to renew the grant 855 and 885-5B. And the hearing was held and the advertisement was made only in Michael Ramsdale's name. However, the town issued the lease agreement to both Michael Ramsdale and Mike Devasto. And therefore, obviously, there was some sort of a clerical error, and we need to correct that because the public hearing for the renewal should have been in both of their names. So tonight, we are here to renew Mike Devasto's grant, 855 and 855-B, starting in 2016 for a 10-year term to end in 2026. Because this was overlooked, even though he has a valid lease with the town currently, we need to make sure that there's a public hearing about this renewal with his regard. And I think you should take comments from the public as well as the board.
Okay, I'll start with the board. Who had their hand up first, Helen or Ryan?
Helen.
Okay, couple things. I just want to point out that we're renewing Michael Devasto's license. We're not renewing the licensed areas. You don't renew a licensed area, you renew a license, first thing. So the motion should be read a little differently. Second thing is, I looked at all the documents, relevant documents. What I didn't see, I asked for and got. And this is clearly, to my mind, a clerical administrative error, which happens. And Mike Devasto's production level, as far as I can make out from everything I've read, is up to what it should be. And I feel that this is a very good formal way to correct that administrative error. And I'm glad the board didn't just sort of wave it through before. Thank you. I'm ready to vote.
What? I didn't hear you. Excuse me.
I'm glad that the board, when this first came up, has done due diligence. In other words, that we didn't just wave it through last time, that we had another hearing and we're doing it, and Mike will have from the date of the renewal 10 years for his license. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Ryan?
Yeah, so when this came up the first time, we hadn't heard from town council. My understanding is that this is the recommended, the process that was recommended by town council. So they have weighed in on how to address or correct this issue.
That is correct.
Yep. And so, and the other is, so for the public hearing, it was posted on July 3rd. The regs for the shellfish are require a 10-day notice. So it makes that as well. So it's been obviously 10 days since July 3rd. So I just wanted to have those two, because especially
Thank
the,
you.
yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Thanks for being so detail oriented. Good. Michael Devasto? You've got your hand up?
Yeah, I just need to note that I'm speaking on my own behalf and not as a member of the board from the audience, which is hard to tell when you're on Zoom, so I'll leave my video off. I just want to clarify, because I don't believe Helen's right. I believe that the license area is what's renewed on the 10-year basis, and that the licensees are named to that license, and that's why they're renewed on a 10-year basis. And when you are transferred onto that license, that you still are into that same renewal period. So I believe that in reading the regs and reading the state regs, that it's the license area that's renewed, and we are named to that licensed area. And so that's basically all I have to say.
Okay, thank you.
That's what it says in the documents as well.
Okay. Nancy, do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, I would say that when you are added to a grant or an already existing grant with a term, you get added on for that term, the pre-existing term. Whereas if it's a brand new grant, then it's, you get it for, I think it's 2 years to start, and then you can renew for 5 and then 10. But once, if that licensed area already has a lease associated with it, then that person gets added to the same timeline. That's my understanding, and it's the way I've seen it done since I started. So Jean, maybe you could just say if I'm wrong on that one, but I think you and I talked about this and we agreed.
You are not wrong.
Okay.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, hold on. I just want to make sure Nancy's done.
Yeah, I'm done. Sorry, I was just joking around.
Okay.
Yeah, through you to Nancy. So why is it at other points in time, there have been people who, let's say, are licensed to use a licensed area. In other words, the area has to be usable as an aquaculture lease. The area is a lease. The licensee, I've been involved with votes in the past where the licensee has an extension, which has a renewal period of X. And then the licensee is also licensed to an adjoining area, 2 separate grants, right? 2 separate licensed areas. And to sync up and make convenient the renewal cycle for that one licensee, a request has been made in the past, and an adjustment has been made by this board to let them sync up. So one of them has a renewal, term which ends in a certain year, and the other one has another renewal term, which ends in a different year. And the licensee says, hey, can we please make this more convenient and shorten or lengthen? Shorten is allowed. It's even in the regs that you can shorten it. And so they both get renewed at the same time, and I don't have to come back to the select board twice. I've been there for those votes, which is why I've always held very clearly in my mind that the licensee is the person who gets the license to use the licensed area. It's not the area itself that has a shelf life that expires. Thank you. But I defer to the shellfish constable, obviously.
Oh, thank you, Helen. It could be also a matter of interpretation. And so I'm interpreting it the way that it's always been interpreted to the best of my knowledge by previous constables and the principal clerk who's been here for 20 odd years. So I don't think we've changed anything in the way we're doing things. And we could certainly look into it and really try and discern, is it for a licensed area or a licensee? I'm kind of, briefly looking through our regs now, but I'd also have to look through Mass General Law. But this is the way it's been done, and it certainly is the way that it's been interpreted up until now. So I feel comfortable just continuing on for the moment. And if you all feel that I should be chasing a little bit more detail on it, I'm happy to do that. But this is the way it's been done.
Michael, you still have your hand up. Do you?
Yeah, I just was gonna respond about when there's an extension in that licensed area wants to sync up. It's because the new area or the extension would have a 3-year term and then a 5-year term and then a 10-year term. And you can get that you can request to renew that new area to sync up with your other areas, so you only appear at the same time, but that it's still in these documents here. And if you refer to the packet, the license is the licensed area that's being renewed. That's all.
Okay, thank you. Okay, may I have a motion? I don't see any other comments. May I have a motion?
I'll move that we approve the renewal for
Can
grant
you-
number.
Yeah, can you read the motion, the proposed motion with all the numbers in it? Thank you.
Yep. I move that we approve the 2016 grant renewal for Michael Devasto, grant numbers 855 and 85-5-B, to correct the paperwork oversight.
Okay, in
Second.
January of 2016.
Yeah, I don't think you need
Well,
that.
we got it.
But
Is
Second,
there a second?
second.
All in favor, say aye.
Just one correction. It would be 855-B. It doesn't have an extra dash between.
What I see on the screen does it.
Yeah, I know.
So what's the correct one, Ryan?
Sorry.
Let me look
55B.
that up. Hold on. Can I look that up, please, in my files? Hold on.
Yep. But it should be 855 and 855-B.
Let me just look that up. Okay, sorry. Okay, yep, that's correct. I just want to make sure it's exactly the way it is in our spreadsheet. So.
You want me to,
Thank you.
you want me to reread it?
Yes, might as well, please. Thank you.
Okay, I move that we approve the January 2016 grant renewal for Michael Devasto, grant numbers 855 and 855-B, to correct the paperwork oversight.
Great, thank you.
Just 1 second. Should we be renewing it for both people at the same time?
I
Like
would, I would think so, again, to sync it up and make it easier, but it's certainly, I'm not the shellfish expert here.
Who was it? I'll have to look and see. Was it advertised for both or just one? Because the other one happened without any issues.
It's for both.
The one for Michael Ramsdale happened without,
Yeah,
that happened perfectly.
All right,
the
There were no issues.
advertisement is for both. It says
Okay,
issue.
Okay,
type
then if
grant
the
status.
advertisement is for both, then they both should be read. And that's my bad for the motion. I apologize.
okay. So, are you gonna, new information, Helen?
Yeah, what's posted when I'm looking at my packet, it says approved grant renewal from Michael Devasto. It doesn't say anything about Brian Ramsdale. I feel that we did Brian Ramsdale's renewal just fine back in the day. And I think it is important to put that, to refer to the oversight and paperwork in January of 2016. Michael Ramsdale's on there just fine. It was only advertised for Mike Devasto. So let's just keep that.
Go with the motion that was made.
Yeah.
All in favor, say aye.
Did we have a second?
Yes. Didn't we have a second?
No,
All right. Is there a second?
Helen, second.
Okay, all in favor, say aye.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Janet, aye.
Helen, I.
All right, motion passes unanimously. Thank you. And I think Michael can come back in now as chair, right?
Yeah, I think so. Okay. So up next here is the transfer pledge of license and pledge of inventory of seasonal all alcohol license at 2586 State Highway Route 6 from Patriot Spirits, Inc., DBA Liquor and More. Michael J. Patterson, manager, to Ekdanta Package Corporation, and Minishaban Mafarshia. Sorry if I mispronounced your name, manager. So did I get the name right?
Yes, you did the name right. My name is Nilesh Martha, the president of the Ekdanta Package Corporation. So, yeah.
Okay, and are you new owners of the business?
Yes, I am going to be a new owner of the business, correct, sir?
Okay,
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
Attorney John Kenny, I'm representing the Mafashas.
okay,
I'd be happy to make a short presentation, then we'll be glad to answer any questions.
sure.
That's okay with the board?
That would be great. Thank you, John.
Thank you. For the record, my name is John Kenny. I'm an attorney with a law office in Centerville and represent Ekdanta Package Corporation. And with me tonight are both Neelish Mafasha and his wife, Manishaban Mafasha. Neil is the sole officer and director of Ekdanta Package Corporation. Manishaban is the proposed manager of the store. And as you just read, we're asking for a transfer of the seasonal all alcoholic beverage package store license located at 2586 State Highway Route 6 from Patriot Spirits DBA Liquor and More to Ekdanta Package Corporation. We're also requesting a pledge of the license and a pledge of the inventory to Rockland Trust to secure bank financing if this deal moves forward. We're not proposing any changes in the premises, although at some point in the future, my clients have talked about putting a walk-in cooler into the premises. And if we do so, we'll be back for you for a change of premises at that time. No change in the inventory mix is planned at this time until my client gets to know the market a little better. Store hours proposed are Monday to Saturday, 8 a.m. to 11 p.m. and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. They intend to do business under the name of Wellfleet Wine and Spirits. That would be the DBA. Manishaban Mafasha, as I stated, is the proposed manager. She is TIP certified. She's the current store manager at the Swan River Liquors in Dennis, and she's been the store manager since 2018. She's familiar with the laws dealing with both the sale of alcoholic beverages and tobacco products. Neil Mafasha, the sole stockholder and director of Ekdanta, has package stores in Dennis, Sandwich, Yarmouth, and Falmouth. And now they're looking to add Wellfleet to their number of stores. They acquired their first store in 2014, first package store. And since then, they have had no violations in any of their stores. And the family also owns Route 28 Convenience located here in Centerville. They've owned that since 2001, and they have never been cited for any violations
of tobacco product sales. We've reached agreement with the landlord on the lease terms, and we're hoping to move forward, and we're asking for your approval for the three things: the transfer of the liquor license and the pledge of the license in the inventory. And we'd be happy to answer any questions the board may have.
I just have one question. Is this this license going to be contingent on the purchase of the property or the closing on the property?
No, we have a lease agreement with the landlord. There's a conditional assignment in a lease to be entered into.
Okay, all right. I just wasn't sure when you said this deal, should this deal go forward.
I meant by your approval, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine. I just want to make sure that if we make the motion that it's correct and not and we're not transferring the license over when the deal hasn't gone through or may not go through, we could put it contingent on that happening. So does anyone from the board have any concerns or questions? No? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So I'll move. I move to approve the transfer, pledge of license, and pledge of inventory of the seasonal all alcohol license at 2586 State Highway Route 6 from Patriot Spirits Inc., DBA Liquor and More, Michael J. Patterson, manager, to Ekdanta Package Corporation, Manishaben Mafarsha, manager. Application received June 22nd, 2021.
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Brian, I.
Michael, aye.
Helen, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, congratulations and thank you for doing business in the town of Wellfleet.
Thank you very
Thanks,
much for your
board.
time.
Okay, so next up on the agenda here, we have use of town property, Provincetown Community Compact, the Great Pond. I think this is a swimming event. Do we have the applicant here?
Yes, we do.
Okay, Jay?
Yes, hello.
Hi, Jay. Do you want us to present for the public, for the sake of the public, what this is? And, you know, we've approved this before and, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I'd like to express my gratitude for the use of the Great Pond 2 years ago. I know it's hard to believe 2 years, that whole year, just last year just kind of like disappeared, but it was 2 years ago. And that happened to be a time when there was a tropical storm. So the swim in Provincetown actually did not happen that day, but we did do the swim in the afternoon. The storm sort of waned and we did do the swim at Great Pond in 2019. So that was really kind of the highlight of the Swim for Life that year. And now 2 years later, as things are opening up, we are really anxious and hopeful to come back and use Great Pond again. It really worked out well. And, you know, the thing about Great Pond is that it's a smallish pond. And so the route for the swim is actually circling around the pond. It's almost about a mile if you double over between the two stairways. And that makes it safer that swimmers are close to shore if there's any issues with swimming. And there are also a group of swimmers and classes that are held there through the Council on Aging, and a lot of those swimmers are familiar with swimming at Great Pond. So it seemed like the logical place to go. And I know that there were some issues about parking, but we did arrange with the Council on Aging to do a shuttle from the parking lot there to the pond the afternoon of the event. And so this year we're hoping to use the pond again and limit it again, once again, to 50 people, which is 50 swimmers, which is what it was 2 years ago. So that basically is the request. And, again, we're very grateful for Wellfleet joining us in this 34th Swim for Life.
Okay, thank you, Jay. Looks like I've got Ryan's hand up, then Helen, go ahead.
Yeah, I just don't see why the rationale to limiting it to 50 people. That's all.
Can I respond to that?
Yes, go ahead, Jay.
That's a curious comment. I think we chose 50 at the time just because it felt like that was a sort of a fitting number for the pond, given that it's the limited access and et cetera. But that number, I guess, was arbitrary in a sense too.
I do remember this coming before and there being some concern just about, there was no beach at the time. And just the disbursement of people at the bottom. Now I think there's more room, but I don't exactly remember. It wasn't my concern, but came up. Helen, you've got your hand up. Go ahead.
Yes, am I muted? No.
No.
So I understand people, it's better for people to swim near the shore around the pond. But it strikes me as strange that Gull Pond, which has way more parking, the cars come and go in a way that isn't right on one of those roads, like the Great Pond parking area is. And the access to get into Gull Pond is sort of easier. I use both ponds all my life. And is it simply through you, Mike, to Jay, the reason not to use Gull Pond, which has actual bathrooms, not just porta potties, is the reason to use Great Pond instead of Gull Pond simply because Gull Pond's farther around? Is that the reason? Because otherwise Gull Pond strikes me as a much better choice. And there are a lot of audience, and it's still the pandemic probably, and it will be, and having people waiting on the shore and people just wanting to use the pond who don't want to do the swim for life.
What, Jay, respond to the question?
Thank you.
Go ahead, Jay. Is there a particular reason why Great? I mean, Great is what the request is. So unless there's a problem with Great Pond, I don't think we need to go there. But Jay, do you want to respond why you chose Great Pond, I guess? I think
Jay's muted.
He's
Jay's muted.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I think he kind of did.
Yes, great. Gull Pond, if we were to use Gull Pond, it would require a lot more logistics. I mean, I think swimming around Gull Pond it's too far. It's too long to swim. It's probably 2 miles, so we probably would have to have people swim out a certain distance and swim back. And it require, and it's a safety issue as well, because people will be in the middle of deep water. So we'd have to be more cognizant and prepared for any mishap in the pond.
Okay.
So I think that's part of the reason.
Okay. I mean, I'm ready to make a motion. I move to approve the use of Great Pond located on 500 Cahoon Hollow Road on September 11th, 2021. From 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. to Provincetown Community Compact.
Second.
We need a fee.
Oh, the fee. Oh, yeah, for the fee of $110 is what's listed on the application. You guys all right with that?
Second.
Okay. Motion seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Michael, aye.
Helen, I.
Okay. Thank you. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, thanks, Jay.
Well, thank you so much. I appreciate your support. Thank you.
Okay, Sprint Triathlon. do we have either the applicants here, John Braden or Kathleen?
Yes, I'm Kathleen. My husband Andy also owns the New England Endurance Events, and John Braden, I think I saw on a few minutes ago.
Okay, great. If somebody wants to just give us a real brief synopsis on what it is and what you want to do for the sake of the public
Sure.
who are watching, and go ahead.
Okay, so the Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon has been going on since 2011. It is a major fundraiser for WOMR. And we also make a donation to the Outer Cape Healthcare. So it's a race with usually it's 150 athletes. And we're at Long Pond. So it's a closed course. They swim in the pond, they do a couple of loops on the bike, and then they run over towards the beachcomber and come back. So the whole event, in this case, September 18th is what we're asking for. And we're out of that pond area about 11 o'clock.
Okay, Ryan Curley?
Yeah, so on the application it lists that we need police, EMT, and DPW assistance. I believe the fire department says that they're billing for their staff. I want to make sure that the DPW and the police are also billing for the expenses incurred. Is that happening?
Chief
I
Hurley
believe that is.
and Chief Hurley. Go ahead, Chief Hurley, I guess, because of fire.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Yep, in past years, we have billed, I believe it's 6 to 7 detail officers to get the roads closed in that area and do it safely. And they do pick up all the cost.
Okay, Chief Polly. You're muted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple comments. I've signed off on this event in the upcoming agenda item for the triathlon. But I'd like this board to know that we have 3 major events in 3 weekends. And with all due respect, we cannot right now keep up with staffing. So I signed off on all of them, realizing that I'm very, very supportive of the causes and the charity that's involved. But we're going to take a hard look at this as to whether we can staff this in the future. I'll more than likely need to bring in outside EMTs and paramedics because we're at a point that we can't handle it. And yes, the sponsors are very good. They pay for the details, they pay for and they're very good to work with. But we're asking an awful lot for a small fire EMS system, and I think we need to take a hard look at it in the very, very near future. Thank you.
If I could, thank you, Chief. If I could throw out a suggestion, we just had a similar event at Triathlon in the town of Falmouth this past weekend. And in addition to using the good resources of the Falmouth Police Department and the Falmouth Fire and EMS, we hired Access Ambulance and their EMTs to be on site. And that's something we certainly could do to help take some of the pressure off of Chief Pauly's department.
Would that be helpful?
Yeah, and if I may, but ultimately the liability comes upon the town of Wellfleet. Ultimately, the liability becomes upon the town of Wellfleet and the Wellfleet Fire Chief and the Wellfleet Police Chief. And, I'm fine with that, but, we need to make sure that we're able to cover these events, and not with respect to this application, and I'll be quiet after this, but the next agenda item, that requires coordination of 3 different EMS, police, fire communities between Wellfleet, Truro, and Provincetown. So we got to get a better handle on this in the future so that there's a level of public safety, protection, and comfort that we can all, feel good about. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you very much.
Okay, thanks, Chief. Looks like I got Ryan and then Helen.
Yep. So the other issue is the number of locations being utilized. I don't think that a fee of $110 is appropriate. There's 6 different locations listed as being utilized for this event.
Excuse me, Ryan, can you, that's, I think you're referring to see the SOS Cape Cod, the Sprint Triathlon is really just at Long Pond. And then there's a closed course. It's the one that's been going on for, I guess, 10 years now.
Well,
the one that Chief Polly was referring to from time to time was the one that goes Wellfleet, Truro, and Provincetown. But this item, the Sprint Triathlon, is only at Long Pond.
so it says, this is Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon, town property to be used, Long Pond and grassy area, Long Pond parking lot, Long Pond Road, Lawrence Road, Grosse Hill Road, Ocean View Drive, elementary school parking lot. That's six locations, including, a number of roads that are impacted. So I do not think that a fee of $110 adequately compensates the town for the use of that extensive expanse of town facilities.
Helen?
Yeah, a couple of questions. Am I muted? No. One question is, in other years, through you to the applicant, how many people have actually turned up? Can you do that off the top of your head?
I can't. I'm sorry, Ellen. We have participants, and then we also have volunteers and spectators. Now, this year, what we've asked our COVID plan that we submitted along with our application was that we would not have any spectators and only the volunteers that we really absolutely needed. So that way we could keep the, any kind of crowds down. Now, we've been able to do that with 2 other races that we were lucky enough to have this year. And it worked very well. We had very limited people milling around. We didn't have crowds. And that's our plan with Wellfleet, particularly considering that, that Long Pond area there isn't that large. So we really want to be able to keep the amount of people that are in the area to a bare minimum and really just include those that absolutely need to be there.
Okay, I have a second question.
Mm-hmm.
So at the back of the application sheet, we get sign-offs from all the departments that might be impacted. We've heard from Chief Polly, thank you. But here under the Health Conservation Agent, it says something interesting. It says Conservation Commission requested slight course modification to eliminate run along pond edge. Now, I see nothing about that in your descriptions of the pieces of town property. What was that about? Was that something you took out after Conscom said something?
No, that was for the SOS race. That wasn't for Wellfleet. It gets very confusing to have 2 races in the same town. I realize that gets very confusing for everybody.
Okay,
but
thank you. One more thing. Sorry to interrupt. You've answered the question. I appreciate that. Through you, Mike, when we're ready, I have a motion that's got a few.
Okay, you can make the motion, Helen.
When we get to that,
Yeah,
other
Janet?
people have their hands up.
Well, I was just going to say in reference to what Ryan said is that I think this is also the first time, I could be wrong, that the fire, DPW and police all are getting reimbursed for their participation or for their help, right?
No, I believe I can certainly look back at our notes, but I'm sure that we've received invoices from the police and I assume fire, but I seem to remember seeing the police at least.
I remember fire.
Yeah.
Okay, so my point is that with Ryan saying more of a fee, that they are charging or they are getting reimbursement for the help that they are giving, so.
Ryan, what kind of fee are you thinking?
600.
600?
Yep.
I think that's a little bit steep for a nonprofit fundraiser.
There's 6 locations. That's, if they were to apply separately to use each location, that would be $660.
Well, would you consider a robe using?
To me, it's one event, and I think it is 6 locations listed, but I mean, parking at the elementary school and running on Ocean View Drive. I think 600 is probably a little bit high.
I don't know. I mean, you have Long Pond,
charge.
you have elementary school parking lot, Long Pond parking lot. So there's going to be impact on people that might want to use the pond that day. In terms of the traffic on these roads, it's usually severely compromised by the number of participants and the road closures. I don't think that, 600 is really reasonable for the, I mean, they're literally taking up miles of town roads, so.
Well, how's the rest of the board feel on the number? John?
I just, question, is that 600 to cover both fire, EMS and police?
No.
No.
That's
Just the
feet of
fee.
the town.
Just the feet of the town.
Yeah, I'm inclined to think that's a little steep then, but
Helen?
Yeah, I think I would settle for 400. I think Ryan's concerns are reasonable. And when I make the motion, I'm going to add that phrase we've used in other situations, which is that the premises are left in a condition that, in good condition to the satisfaction of the health conservation agent. Okay? In other words, not only will the sprint triathlon folks have to pay for the use of town property, because it does congest roads in a big way on a weekend, but they have to pay for the special, the special cops and EMTs and stuff. And they also have to leave it as they found it. And so I would be happy with 400. I think 600 for a nonprofit is a bit steep, Brian. But I agree that it should be over 110 because it isn't just one spot. And people swim at Long Pond, just regular people.
This is for September 18th, yeah?
Yeah, people swim in
this is-
September.
This is September 11th.
No, September 18th.
September
18th.
So Michael, can I
Sorry.
just add
Yeah.
something?
Yeah, go ahead, Janet.
Um,
That's fine.
So this is for WOMR, right?
Yes.
And WOMR has been a very important community addition. And there are a lot of people from Wellfleet in this area that listen to them, participate on the board and everything. So it's not as if they're doing this for a profit. And this is one of their big money-making ventures, and it's good, clean fun. So I have no problem doing 110 fee for this year, and then next year, or we can discuss fees at another time, which we should do anyhow.
I think we do need to come to some consensus on how we break these down, because the way that we do this is on a case by, it's like there's no standardization for parking or anything like that we have.
Yeah, we need to have a meeting. on it.
I'd be okay with it being higher than the 110 because it does, utilize a lot of town property. It is a singular event, and we do need to sort of be consistent when we do these things across the board. I don't know. I was kind of thinking like $350, but I would be, how do the applicants, how much would that add to your total costs really? Because you're paying a lot for police, EMT and DPW. And I do want to support WMR as a community radio station. So I'd be okay with 400. I think, that's kind of like the most I would ask for a fee, but go ahead, Kathleen.
Thanks. And John Braden might be able to speak better than I can about this, but this is for WOMR. So, as low as you're able to make that application fee, the more money that is able to go to, to services that are necessary. It looks like John's got his hand open, so I'll let him speak to
Okay, John.
that.
Okay, John, I'm gonna make a case here.
John, you're muted.
You're muted, John.
Thank you. And I'm really pleased that the town of Wellfleet has made their property available to us over the last 10 years. I'm fine with paying a fee to the town for the use of their town. We also do, like Kathleen has mentioned, we do pay for EMTs. We do pay for the fire department, the police, and for the, do we pay for the Department of Public Works as well?
I'm not sure if we pay for DPW, but definitely police and
There's 3 entities we pay to use the town, and we're happy to do it. We're happy to do it. We're happy to pay a fee to the town as well. I'd like to think it wouldn't be a crazy fee, but we're happy to do that as well.
Jay Norton.
Yeah, thanks, Mr. Chair. Just to clarify, we've never invoiced the applicants for any services in the past.
Okay. All right, so let's come to a number here. I hate throwing numbers around like this on these types of things personally, and I think we need to standardize this a little bit more.
Yep.
Where's
Mike?
everyone comfortable? Helen?
Yeah, okay. Listening to everybody, let's settle on 300. They have to pay for all this backup themselves. And I listen to WOMR, and if the police department and the rescue department is able to contract out or arrange, which takes staff time, by the way. WOMR can't do that for those 2 departments. But WOMR will pay for all these extra people who are going to be helping out our departments. I would go with 300.
Kathleen, can I ask you what you guys pay in Falmouth, just out of curiosity? Do you
Oh,
remember?
that's a good question, Michael. It is, let me see if Andy might be able to look that up quickly. We paid them a while ago when we first did our permit, so I'm not always certain. Are you able to pull it up?
I believe it's a relatively minor fee. However, we do make a sizable deposit that gets refunded when they see that we've left the venue as pristine as we found it. Yeah, I'm not showing
That's okay.
anything in the town of Falmouth.
I just figured I'd ask if you remembered.
Right.
Ryan?
Yeah, so we just heard that the DPW is not compensated for the expenses incurred by providing services for this event. It's more than just the use of an area, it's use of town staff as well. So.
Well, what services does DPW provide, Jay?
Garbage.
I mean, in the past, we've put barrels out for trash. We also sweep the roads before, just to clear up any debris or, sand on the roads. But I mean, to me, that's just normal maintenance for us anyways. So we'll go out and just kind of look at the roads before. So that obviously takes some staff time, but to me, that's part of our responsibilities anyways. It's really just the trash that's probably the most time consuming, I guess.
Okay, I mean, I'm good with $400. I don't know about the rest of you guys.
Michael, if I can speak, I did find what we paid for Falmouth. So we pay $450 for Falmouth. Our permits for $450. It covers more road, but that's their charge. And of course, yeah, and we're happy to pay that.
Okay, are you okay with $450, Ryan?
Yep.
Okay.
Or 400, either's
fine. Okay, Helen, do you want to make a motion?
Yeah. And to address the DPW's extra work, yeah, Jay, I mean, you do sweep the roads. It's nice if you fit it in at the convenience of this triathlon, for the convenience of the people using this, doing this triathlon. But the last words of my motion say the premises have to be left as it was found. In other words, if there's a whole lot of extra trash, WMR has to get it out of there. If it's just, a normally used trash barrel, fair enough. So I'm going to make it. I hope it works. I move to approve the use of various locations throughout Wellfleet for the Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon as listed in the application, to be held on September 18th, 2021, from 5 a.m. to 11 a.m. with conditions as listed on the application and in compliance with any COVID protocols in place at that time. And to leave the various premises in the condition in which it was found, comma, to the satisfaction of the DPW and health conservation agent.
Second, for a fee of,
Oh, sorry, for a fee of, did we decide 400?
Yes.
Yes, for a fee of 400. Thank you.
Okay. Second,
Second.
call vote.
John.
Janet, I.
Brian, I.
John, I.
Aye. Oh, sorry, John. Michael, aye.
Helen, I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very
And on
much.
to the next one.
Okay, that's us again.
So yeah, so now that we covered that, this one's a little bit, it's kind of similar, yeah?
In some ways it is. Excuse me, go ahead.
Bigger.
Oh, this is a smaller event, and it is different in that the participants are spread out. They are not all in one place, such as Long Pond and Long Ponds Beach. It is a event that once again this year will benefit the United Way COVID Relief Fund. The last event that we had in 2019 before we got hit by that wall of that affected us all was the beneficiary was water.org.
And if I could add with
Yeah.
United Way, we have that's charity that we, that we've used throughout our season this year. And so far we've raised $3,500. So, it is a significant impact on our community.
So the participants arrive and park at the Wellfleet Congregational Church. We make arrangements with them. They ride their bicycles down to Mayo Beach, and at 7 a.m. the event does start at Mayo Beach. I remember having a conversation with Ron Fassett when he was police chief about the route, and he chose one where they went up Holbrook with police assistance in that busier part of town, even at 7 in the morning. They cross over and get on West Main, get onto Pole Dyke, get onto Bound Brook, and off they go to Churro. They do get to the lower limits of Provincetown. They come back down and they end on Collins Road in Churro. From there, the participants start to run. They leave their bicycles, they start to run. They do work their way through the established trails down into the Wellfleet Pond area, down on Slow Pond Road into Black Pond, then Schoolhouse Hill. They get to Gull Pond, not at the sluice, but at the beach that's next to the sluice. And they swim across the public landing at Gull Pond, following the shoreline. We place buoys and we have lifeguards out there. When they arrive at the Gull Pond main parking area where everybody gets their swim lessons, they head down Cross Gross Hill, and they go down Sappaconich to Forest, and they work their way down to Great Pond. at Great Pond, and we recently had a conversation with the Conscom about this and established that it makes sense for us to have a small triangular swim where they go down the stairs, do the triangular swim, once again lifeguarded, back up the stairs, and then they go on those two ways, 623 and 625, and out Buttrey to Long Pond Road, where they go that short distance to that very quiet town landing on the east end of Long Pond. They swim across Long Pond, once again, lifeguarded. They exit at the popular beach. By this time, it's getting into mid-morning or so, mid to late morning. And then they run the short distance. 2 years ago, it was to the Congregational Church. We thought, given the COVID precautions of the spring, and we're still willing to stick to this, is perhaps they'll just turn onto Lawrence and by the field, maybe where the old temporary police station was.
Right, that will keep them out of town as well. So that will keep the 2019 when we did this race, Chief Hurley was a little concerned with there's some congestion there. So if we end it at the school, we'll eliminate that. We won't have people going downtown.
Okay, I'm tired from just hearing it. Okay, all right, Chief Polly's got his hand up, so I'll go to Chief first, and then Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Again, well, this may be a smaller event. It's a much longer event in terms of resources that are tied up. In 2019, when we did this, we didn't clear the Congregational Church till about 2 o'clock in the afternoon. As in any type of events like this, we can't just leave until the last person is checked out. So there were some folks that were a little slower, no disrespect, but we had to stick around the pond for hours. And again, that's liability on the town of Wellfleet if we're not there. I do appreciate the fact that we're going to look at stopping at the old temporary police station location, because resuming back to the Congregational Church parking lot really tied things up, and it was really congested in 2019 when we did this. So I do appreciate that. But this is not a smaller event for public safety. It's actually a much more complex event. And again, I'm going to leave it at that. We're going to support it, but we're asking an awful lot. And I think we're going to have some real significant detailed conversations about these things in the future going forward. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you, Chief.
Ryan, you got your hand up? Go ahead, Ryan.
So Chief, or through to Chief Polly, will town staff have to be in more than one location at the same time?
Yes, Mr. Curley. Actually, we coordinate this with the Truro Fire Department and the Provincetown Fire Department. There are times that we're in multiple locations because of just the nature of the event. What we do is we follow the participants as they move along. And again, some folks are not as quicker as others. So we cannot clear one area with staff until the participants are cleared, then move on. So we're going to have to put, we need to put a boat. We need to put one of our inflatables in the water. Yes, the sponsors of the event are very, very good about supplying folks that are lifeguards that are, very much in the support role. But again, as an example, we cannot clear that last pond, until we know that everyone is out, and that takes hours. So it takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of resources. And again, please, I hate to be the Grinch about this, because I'm very supportive of OMR. I'm very supportive of what's the fundraising. And these are all wonderful, wonderful charities, but this takes a lot of coordination and a lot of public safety time.
Okay. Are you have a follow-up, Ryan?
Yeah. So the materials in our packet are are missing the operational plan for this event. I don't know if that's an oversight or not. We just have the ones for the sprint triathlon.
If I may, Mr. Chair, through you, again, I'm more than happy to get with Kathleen and the event sponsors. And we had an operational plan that was laid out very nicely in 2019. We all had to be on the same page, and we were. So we can refresh that. And I'm not concerned about the operational plan. It worked well 2 years ago. Again, it's just time consuming. So I'm okay with it if the board decides to, approve this, and we'll work out the details at staff level. I think that's the best way to handle it.
So the thing is that the request to use town property lists, Mayo Beach, Gull Pond, Great Pond, and Long Pond areas. It doesn't include the roads. And then it says, please see attached operations plan and COVID-19 protocol sheets. And we don't have those. We just have the ones for the sprint triathlon.
Mine doesn't even have that.
Yeah, well, the sprint triathlon one was actually, it's the one that's after, that was included in this one.
Oh.
Because it says COVID guidelines for Wellfleet sprint triathlon. So I mean, the scope of area involved is quite significant. I mean, if we're talking about what the fee is for various locations, we're actually supposed to charge a fee for each parcel utilized. And that's in the select board policies. And that can go up to $1,000 per parcel. But I just don't really know. I mean, so, and I'm assuming the DPW is going to have to provide services at all these locations as well, correct?
The nature of this is that the participants are pre-qualified. They have to show they've done a difficult event of a similar difficulty in a what I would consider a fast time. They kind of know there's a lot of at your risk. Of course, we need to support them, but we're not as concerned about sand on the roads as we are, say, for the Wellfleet Sprint Triathlon, where you have some people who are in reasonable shape and they wish to do a set a triathlon as a goal for fitness or for their health, or often it's to raise a fund for cancer or what have you. So it's a different type of event.
And most of the event happens along ponds rather than on roads.
Right. The only roads is there is a crossing on Gross Hill, but the rest of it, with the exception of that final 3/4 of a mile from Long Pond west exit to the Lawrence Road, that those are the only two spots where participants are running along a hardtop road.
Right, but they're running, so it's not with the sprint triathlon, like on the bike course, we want to keep sand off the road because someone might slip with their bike. But when you're running, running on sand isn't a big deal. So that's not as much of a concern in this case.
But you said that they start at Mayo Beach and they travel by bikes down onto Holbrook, to West Main, to Boundbrook, and then to Truro. I mean, it's not just that they're running on some roads, it's also that there's bikes on the roads as well. But I would like to hear from the DPW about what the services that they've provided in 2019's event. Sorry to put you on the spot, Jay.
That's fine, Ryan. Through you, Mr. Chair, to Ryan. Same as the other race, we would get the route from Kathleen before. We'd get a map of the roads and the routes of the bikers and runners, and we would go out the day before and just check the roads. If they needed to be swept, we would sweep them with our street sweeper. And that's about it. I mean, yes, it does take staff time, but we've never invoiced them in the past. And if the board feels that it's appropriate for us to log our time and man hours to do that, you know, I certainly will.
Do you provide trash services?
For that event, I don't believe we did. Kathleen, I don't
nothing.
remember that.
No, we and with the Wellfleet sprint, I know we take a lot of trash back. So I'm sorry if there's any left over for you after the race, but we follow the usual model in the woods, which what you bring in is what you take out. So we tend to collect our own trash for certainly for SOS, and we thought we were for Wellfleet.
Okay, so
right.
Just to sort of, yeah, I'm gonna call on you, Helen. I just want to get to the crux of this here. I think I'd like to know basically from the board, are we okay for approving this? What is the fee? And so just for expediency, is there an issue that happened in 2019 that needs to be addressed right now? That's all, because to me, it seems like this is a nonprofit event. We've heard from the chief and the fire chief. We know it takes those resources and they'll be compensated, and we should have that discussion. But we know this event went off pretty well in 2019, and to the extent of charging per parcel, we also have the right to waive fees altogether. So to me, these things that span multiple parcels, they become an event, and we should charge appropriately for them. But I think that, a lot of this is people traversing across. So, I'm inclined to just, let's get to the bottom line here. Are we going to pass this? Are we going to approve this? What's the fee going to be? I think the board as a whole, just hearing the discussion of the last one, would probably approve this if we took a vote. So I just kind of like to get to the skinny of it so we don't spend all night on it. Helen?
Yes, I am not inclined to get to the vote right now because there are a couple things I want to add. First of all, having large numbers of people going, not even in a pack, along dirt roads is a whole other issue, and even more congesting and difficult and arguably dangerous. Secondly, this is a different time. I have a question coming up, but I want to say these things first after what Mike said. I read through the application. There was no mention of an even estimated number of people, unlike the sprint triathlon, when we have an estimated number of 100, including, volunteers and stuff who help. And we need to have that. But I really heard everything Chief Pauly said. And I really read all the mentions of what the summer has been like in various reports during this new season, pandemic season. It's very different. And the departments are maxed. And so I have two questions, and then I want to perhaps say something afterwards, depending on what the answers are. The first is, what is the ballpark number here of people? Because it's not in the application.
Oh, I apologize if you don't have that paper. And I understand there might have been a mix-up. In our operational plan, in our introductory paragraph, we give the number of 150 participants, and we do so also in the operational summary further on. It is 150 was the plan, and we have certainly thought, and a lot of this was thanks to Chief Hurley and Chief Pauly, that it makes more sense to hold this event during the shoulder season. This will be at the end of September, where I know there's still people in Wellfleet in September very much. I know that, but it's not the same as July or August or even early September.
That's true. So my second question is to double down on what Ryan said when I read the application. You described using a number of roads that aren't in the use of town property list. It says include specific area on the application. And all the roads between Mayo Beach, Gull Pond, Great Pond, Long Pond are not listed. And you have to do that. If you have a parade, you have to list the roads. You know, the triathlon was somewhat more, application was somewhat more specific about that. But given everything I've heard, and given my deep appreciation for you choosing Wellfleet, and also if you're going to use Black Pond Road, you're going to be using a bit of Truro, okay? Because part of that road is in Truro. The borderline sort of goes over. My point is, this application doesn't specifically mention all the town property areas that you want to use. That could be rectified, but where I am right now, and I came into this meeting with an open mind, but concerns is I don't think we should host this year. I think it's too much. And no matter how much I feel supportive of WOMR and, voted for the last application, I think it's too much, and it's too much to ask the departments, because this season is more packed than anything anybody's known for a long time. Thank you.
Okay.
If I can.
Well, I'm just gonna give my opinion real quickly. I think we're talking about the end of September. This isn't July and August. It's not gonna be packed like it is right now. So we should remember that. Had these guys applied in May for the end of September, we probably wouldn't be thinking the same way as we are right now with the busyness of the roads. And I don't remember, but I think when like Pan Mass Challenge comes, do they list every parcel that they cross when they go down as a use of town property?
No.
Or every road?
Cross?
I think we
Cross?
approved that they traverse as a use, or do?
Yeah.
Okay. I guess the thing is, I think we just need to get to a vote here, because this has been approved by, it's been okayed by the police, the fire, and the DPW. They're going to pay police, fire, and possibly DPW if there's services that they need, and we can apply a fee. And we know this went off in 2019 without any major issues. So I don't think that we should not allow this year. So I would be inclined to just take a vote, come up with a number. What is this to raise funding for, Kathleen? This is for
The United Way. We donate to the United Way COVID Relief Fund.
The Cape Cod chapter of the United
and
Way.
where does that money go?
That goes on Cape Cod. The United Way distributes where they feel it's most necessary for COVID relief.
Right, and different of the permitting authorities have different priorities. The town of Truro, for example, we worked out an arrangement 2 years ago, and we have an upcoming meeting with them, where instead of paying a fee to the town, we made a sizable donation to the Puma playground. And that was actually at the suggestion of the town manager when we asked, where was the biggest need for some additional funding right now.
Right.
And that's another option to consider.
Right. And something to address Helen's point, most of the roads besides the in the beginning of the race, of course, the bikes are going out towards Truro, but going from ponds, they cross over a couple of roads, but for the most part, they're on trails. They're on, marked trails going from pond to pond. So we didn't list roads, and I'm sorry that you don't have that operations plan. I'd submitted that it was either January or February. I didn't realize that you didn't get that copy. So I certainly, we're happy to send that back to you. But it does list all the roads. We have maps for every, for every leg of the race. That way you're able to see exactly what roads are covered. But the run and from pond to pond is almost completely on trails.
I'm gonna go back to Ryan and Helen, but I really would like to get to a vote whether we're gonna do this or not. Otherwise, we're gonna have about a 4 or 5 hour meeting.
So,
a long agenda.
okay, so if we do it just based off of the problem is the motion as well. If we do it basically as in our packet, they do not have the permission to use roads. They would have the permission to use the beaches only. I don't know what to do with that. I think that the application needs to be corrected with a complete list of what's being used. It doesn't have to be about parcels or anything, but which roads are being used and everything.
I have a suggestion. Could we just approve it with a contingent on an approved, with roads used to be contingent on approval from the fire and police?
Yeah.
We know what they are. They listed them all. So we know what they are. And they have apparently submitted the plan, and it has been viewed by our police and fire. So I think we can just make in the motion the use of roads as laid out in their plan, if approved by the police and fire chief.
I have a motion, Mike, if you want to use it. Do you want me to try it out on you?
Yes.
Okay, I move to, this is just trying it out. I move to approve the use of various locations throughout Wellfleet as listed in the application to the New England Endurance Events Organization on September 25th, 2021, from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. as listed in the operations plan and approved by the police and fire departments. And let's put that after various locations. In other words, I move to approve the use of various locations as listed in the operations plan and approved by the police and fire departments.
We have a fee.
Yeah, we need a fee.
For a fee up, we haven't gotten to the fee. And so this set of events, this organization is not covering details at their own expense. Is that what I understood from Chief Polly? Why are we asking them to cover that just as we did for the previous application?
We do.
They are covered.
I think it was just Public Works that wasn't covered.
Okay, so I'm sorry that I didn't get that operations plan, but I didn't. It's not here, and I just looked twice through it, and it really isn't here. Two other things are. How does that sound, guys?
Yeah, and I would say for a fee of, I mean, this is for like COVID relief for people in need. I would, we a lot of times waive the fees for these things altogether. This is a complicated event, so I wouldn't say we should waive it, but like maybe $250.
No,
No, more.
Let's do the same as the previous one.
this is even more participants than the previous one over a wider area.
That's fine. It's just the only thing I was going on was the purpose of the event. So I'm fine with if you want to do the same thing or to donate some money to a specific department or something like that, that would be fine too. Or a particular thing. We can just do the same thing, $400.
Yeah.
We've talked about consistency with these things, so $400 would make sense.
Okay.
But I don't know. I mean, the geographic area for this is much larger than the other one.
We also do and have consistently waived the fee for fundraising events that are charitable. So I'm not saying we should waive it, but they are paying police fire, so.
Would it be, I'm sorry, I should raise my hand.
Yeah. I would
Well,
like to keep, I'm gonna, but I would like to keep it simple tonight because this really is taking, we're seeing the problems with this. And that we as a board should have a discussion at another time about all these fees because, you know, things have been changing, but just for the sake of getting things done, last year we didn't even, or 2 years ago, it would be like $110. So let's do 400 or 500 and approve it and move on.
I would move that it's 400.
Okay.
You want the motion?
You just add 400 to your motion. You already made it.
No, I'm going to redo it so that Rebecca doesn't have to, you know, pause through changes. I move to approve the use of various locations as listed in the applicant's operation plan and as approved by the police and fire departments throughout Wellfleet to the New England Endurance Events Organization on September 25th, 2021, from 5 a.m. to 1 p.m. for a fee of $400 and a backup date of September 25th, 2021.
To be left in the conditions.
Huh?
To be left in the conditions in which they were the same thing you did before.
Oh, yeah. And for a fee of $400 and a backup date of September 25th, 2021, and compliant and in compliance with any conditions listed in the application.
Okay. Second. A roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Brian abstain. I think the fee is too small.
Michael, aye.
Ellen, nay, only because of all the things that I heard from the departments. This is an unusual year. It's not 2019. Thank you.
Motion carries 3-1-1. Okay. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
On to the next use of town property. This is Lydia Vivante to use the town hall driveway by Abioyo, Saturday, August 7th. Lydia?
Hi, thank you for putting me on the agenda tonight. This is for the AIM Thrift Shop Annual Art Sale. We'll be selling donated art, collectibles, antiques, art supplies, and art books. It's all volunteer run, and it's a free event. I'd like to just say a few words about AIM Thrift Shop. It was founded in 1966 to support what is now Outer Cape Health Services. We currently contribute tens of thousands of dollars annually to Outer Cape Health Services, along with other outstanding health and wellness organizations serving the Outer Cape, including the Wellfleet and Truro Housing Authorities, local food pantries and kitchens, Capabilities, Sustainable Cape, Helping Our Women, Mass Appeal, and others. AIM is also proud to give 2 scholarships to the Nauset High School students and Cape Cod Community College students pursuing careers in healthcare. We would respectfully request that you waive the fee, the usage fee for this event.
Okay. And how many years have you been doing this?
This is about our 12th one. In 2020, we just had the art sale in the shop, but all other years we've used the driveway, and 1 or 2 years we used the park next to Preservation Hall.
Okay. Board members?
I would be fine with what she just requested.
Yeah, I'd be happy to waive the fee on this.
Okay, let me make a motion.
Just one thing, just to be clear, no parking is being taken for this, correct?
That's That's right. There might be people coming into town that will park, but yeah.
There's not dedicated parking. So, can I have a motion?
I move to approve the use of Town Hall side driveway beside the store Abiyoyo for the AIM Thrift Shop for their annual art sale on Saturday, August 7th, 2021, from 8:30 to 10:30,
And to,
Helen second.
and to waive the fee.
and to waive the fee.
Helen second.
Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Michael, aye.
Helen, I.
Okay, the motion carries 5-0. Okay, thank you.
Thanks very much.
Okay, reappointment of Sam, is it Peeper or Pepper?
Peeper, I
Peeper.
think.
Okay. Anyone have any issues?
No, I think he's been on this before, hasn't he?
It's a
Yeah.
reappointment.
It's a reappointment.
That's
Yeah.
fine.
So I move to reappoint Sam Peeper to the Marina Advisory Committee to be sworn in by the town clerk, Jennifer Conjal.
Second.
Okay, motion's made and seconded. Roll call vote, please.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Helen, I.
Michael, aye. Motion carries 5-0.
Sorry, I didn't wait.
That's okay, Helen. Okay, I'm gonna recuse myself again on this, so
Now
Janet?
what?
Okay, I will step up.
well, it's to appoint new seasonal deputy shellfish
Oh,
constable.
yeah, right, sorry.
Okay,
So
thank you.
Thank you. So I would like again our shellfish constable, Nancy Chavetta, to explain and let people know what's going on.
Okay, so unfortunately, as you know, Drew Ryan left the department. Again, just one of those people that needed year-round full-time employment, which we could not offer. So we put out 2 job descriptions, one to take his place, which is a seasonal full-time, and then we also seasonal full-time deputy, and then we also added a part-time deputy just for the June to September seasonal area to focus primarily on Indian neck, but also obviously help with propagation and anything else we have going on. So we were very fortunate in that our current AmeriCorps member who is serving with the department applied for the full-time position, and we hired her, and then we got another extremely capable applicant so Jordan Halloran is the AmeriCorps member who is going to be the full-time seasonal deputy, and Anna Meichenbaum we hired as the seasonal part-time shellfish deputy constable. So I think they're both on here, or at least I know Anna's been on the whole meeting. And we're really thrilled to add some new blood to the department. And all 5 of us were out on Monday morning planting our first round of small quahog seed. So it's a great team.
So I see Anna is on here. If she has the capabilities, it'd be nice to say hello to her and have her introduce herself. If she has video and can say something.
Hi, I'm Anna. I just graduated from college in May, and I'm looking to possibly go on to graduate school, so and study marine biology. So I just thought this would be a great experience, and I've been loving it so far. So I'm really thankful for the opportunity.
Wonderful. How
And
about?
I think Jordan is just trying to get in. Rebecca, if you could let Jordan in.
Rebecca, are you there? I haven't, yeah. Okay.
I just
Rebecca-
texted her.
Yeah, she seems, there's Anna.
So Anna also did a paper, one of her papers in college, right? Anna, tell them about your paper. And she ended up doing it on Wellfleet. It's just a coincidence, but a great one.
Yeah, so I took a class called Biological Conservation, and the final project was to pick any area and research an organism and kind of design a study on how you're going to just kind of monitor it. So I picked the purple marsh crab in the Wellfleet marshes and designed a study on how their eating affects all the salt marsh grasses.
Perfect. Wow, great. Okay, I see Jordan's on now too. Hi, do you want to unmute Rebecca?
Yes.
You
Hello.
introduce yourself a little bit and say hi.
Sure. Hi, I'm Jordan Halloran. I am originally from Yarmouth, and I've spent the last 10 months serving as an AmeriCorps volunteer. I've served with the Wellfleet Shellfish Department as well as the Wellfleet Health and Conservation Department. Prior to that, I graduated from Rollins College in May of 2020 with a bachelor's in marine biology and environmental studies.
Wow. Well, you both seem like a good addition, a great addition. Yeah, wonderful. Any other questions or comments from the board? Hearing none, may I have a motion?
No, I have my hand up, Janet.
Go ahead.
So I just want to really thank these two. And I know that Jordan is already very familiar with the Shellfish Department. And I'm really glad that you'll be here for the summer. So thank you. That's it.
Welcome to Wellfleet.
Thank you.
So may I have a motion, or I'll make the motion?
I'll make a motion to appoint the two new seasonal deputy shellfish constables, Jordan Halloran and Anna Meacham-Bowen.
Is there a second? I'll second it. All in favor, say aye.
John, I.
Brian, I.
Oh, Helen, I. Mike isn't voting, sorry.
All right, thank you for unanimous votes. So looking forward to seeing you out there.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is Michael coming back? Let's see.
Hi.
Michael?
So now we just have what is it, Evelyn Lakis or Lakis, application to the Historical Commission, Council on Aging and Cultural Council. Evelyn, are you here?
She's here.
Yeah, yes,
Is it Evelyn?
Eveline,
Okay, sorry about that.
that's okay.
Okay, so are you interested in joining all three of these committees, or one of these committees, whichever one we appoint?
Yeah.
Or-
So initially, I was interested in the Historical Commission. I work at the AIM Thrift Shop. I volunteer once a week, and Jim McAuliffe had recommended that it might be something I would enjoy. And then once I went on the website, I saw all of these other councils, and I thought, well, maybe I should help out there, but I would choose the historical first, and probably the Council on Aging after, but I'll leave it up to you all if you feel that's too much, or I should just ease in.
I think Ryan, did you have your hand up first? Yeah, go ahead, Ryan.
So it's not really, I really think that we should be shrinking the Cultural Council and the COA. Cultural Council is a 15-member committee, which is enormous, and the COA is 11. I just think that, that these committees are just, I don't think that we should be expending volunteers in a very clustered fashion. It'd be better to spread them around to all the other committees that have vacancies. if they're so willing. And I don't even want to think what it would be like to have a 15-person select board meeting over Zoom. So I really think that we should be looking at resizing those two committees and reducing their total size. So thank you.
Let's go point of order and just talk about this particular.
Well, it's about appointing her to these committees.
Okay,
So,
well, understood. Point taken. Do we know how many vacancies are on these committees?
Yes, I'm looking at the vacancy sheet. Do you want me to tell you?
Yeah, just tell me, because I don't.
And not to discuss it now, although I do agree with Ryan. The Historical Commission has 4 vacancies.
Well, there you have it.
They are a 7-member board. So if they have 4 vacancies, they can't even meet. And I have a question, if I may, Mike, through you to the applicant. Have you ever been on a board or committee before?
I have not.
Okay, so first of all, this is great that you're applying, and my recommendation to you, as a veteran of many boards and committees, is go be on the Historical Commission, because there's real traction on land use decisions there. It's a great group. They really need you. And then see if you want to be on other things. You know, there's a lot to learn, and it's very interesting, the Historical Commission, and it has teeth. Okay, so I would recommend just going for the one and see how it feels.
Okay.
And give it a quorum so they can meet.
Meryl Mead Fox, your hand up. Are you on one of these boards?
I'm here. I am co-chair of the Historical Commission. We're very happy that Evelyn is interested in being a part of our commission, and we would like very much for her to join us. And I appreciate everything that you said, Helen. So thank you for your consideration, and thanks for.
Okay, sorry, Meryl. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm just trying to get this
it's okay.
meeting moving. So I just I don't know what our current vacancies on the Council on Aging and Cultural Council are.
each of them has one.
Huh?
Each of them has one.
One vacancy?
Yeah, so one has.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would like to make a motion. John, you have your hand up. I'm gonna make a motion and then we can discuss if we want to. John, why don't you say, you haven't spoken much. Go ahead.
Well, I just wanted to say, I not having realized how swollen the Council on Aging and the Cultural Council both are, I agree 100% with Ryan that we don't need to be adding to that. And since we do not even have a quorum on the Historical Commission, that seems a logical move right there. So
Okay,
that's all I
well,
got.
that's my motion. I move to appoint Evelyn Lakis to the Historical Commission.
Second.
Oh, sorry, to be sworn in by Town Clerk Jennifer Conjal, and to read and follow all the rules and regulations for Wellfleet's boards and committee members for a term ending. Do we have any idea what that would be?
1 second.
Hold on. Yeah, it's length of term 3 years. For a 3-year term, just say for a 3-year.
For a 3-year term.
Yeah.
Second, did we second this? No.
Yep, you just did.
I thought I did, yeah.
The exact date.
You figure it out 3 years from now.
Well, normally they come up in June. So normally it's through June 30th, and we do all the renewals then.
I don't think there is any normal, but yeah.
No, that's what we did with our meeting there, where we reappointed everybody to various committees.
Okay, well, let's just do it until if those ones are the same, let's just do it then. I don't care. Meryl?
I can tell you what the term is. It would be 3 years from June 30th. Well, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, the person she's replacing ended their term June 30th, but I don't know if it starts when she starts.
I think normally we do 3 years from the time we appoint them. And
No.
Let's just.
So
No.
it's your turn. I also want to correct the record. I re-upped. I was one of the people whose terms ended 6:30. So we actually have 3 vacancies, but we do have a quorum, but only just.
Okay.
Just so you know.
Okay. Sorry, my video's off. For a term ending June 30th, 2024.
Second.
Okay. Roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Brian, I.
Michael, aye.
Helen, I. Thank you so much for applying.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next up, we have Barbara Carboni, Rights of Public Access. It seems like we've received some support. Hi, Barbara.
Good evening, everyone, Mr. Chairman, members of the board.
Can we have a motion, or do you guys have any, board have any concerns? Usually we have the person introduce themselves.
Sounds good to me. Unless Ryan wants to say something.
No, I'm just really glad that she's willing to serve.
Yeah, seems
Okay.
very, very well qualified. So
Okay.
I move to approve the appointment of Barbara Carboni to the Rights of the Public Access Committee to be sworn in by the town clerk, Jennifer Conjal, and to read and follow all the rules and regulations for the Wellfleet boards and committee members.
We need a term.
For 3 years.
No, theirs is different.
For a 2-year term.
Yep.
Okay, for a 2-year term.
2-year term ending June 30th.
2023.
Yep.
Okay.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Brian, I.
Michael, aye.
Helen, I.
Okay. Motion carries 5-0. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I look forward to serving, and I'll get sworn in as soon as I can. Thank you.
Okay, that's great.
Barbara.
Thank you.
Mike,
Yep.
through you to Chief Hurley, there's somebody setting off a lot of fireworks south of me right now.
Okay, not on the agenda.
Yeah, well, it's
No discussion is all I'm saying. So he's alerted.
Thank
Okay,
you.
moving on.
Thank you.
Appointment of John Grieb or Grieb.
Grieb.
Grieb to Wellfleet's Open Space Committee. Can we have a motion?
I move to approve the appointment of John Grieb to the Open Space Committee to be sworn in by the town clerk, Jennifer Conjal, and to read and follow all the rules and regulations for Wellfleet's board and committee members with a term ending 3 years, June 30th, 2024. Sound good?
Okay. Any discussion from the board?
I will just say he looks very well qualified and welcome aboard.
Well, thank you very much. I'm looking forward to this.
Okay. Does anybody second?
I'll second.
Okay, roll call vote, please.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Brian, I.
Michael, aye.
And I.
Okay, motion carries 5-0. And I'd just like to say that we tend to receive very well-qualified people to serve on our local boards and committees. And I
Thank you,
appreciate
John.
Very important.
You're quite welcome. I really am looking forward to this. I think the Open Space Committee has a really important charge, and I have sat in on the last 3 meetings, and it looks like a really interesting task that they have before them.
Okay. So now we're on to business. Thank you. Thank you, John. Discussion and possible vote on reopening plan, Hillary. Hillary, we still got you here, Hillary?
Hang on, I'm grabbing her.
No, I'm still here. I'm still here.
Okay.
You almost lost me. So
okay.
Let's see. I think you all received a copy of the plan.
Yep.
And I guess the most important thing that I want to reiterate is obviously that flexibility comes into play here, and the ability to adapt the plan if need be. So as things go with COVID, it's ever changing. We, the town of Wellfleet, seem to be in a lull right now, which is great. I mentioned earlier we were seeing an uptick in Provincetown, just a couple cases in Truro, and I'm not sure what's going on further down Cape. So that being said, all of the offices are open right now by appointment only, as they have been, for the past year and a half. And the plan that I put forth detailed when specific offices were open. And what we'd like to propose going forward is that Town Hall, Health, Conservation and Building be open Wednesdays and Thursdays from 9 to 3. The Adult Community Center, or the Council on Aging, would be open Monday to Friday to the public, 9 to 12. And Monday to Friday, 12 to 4 by appointment only. The Department of Public Works would be open Wednesdays and Thursdays from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Police and Fire remain open 24 hours a day. And the library would like folks to consult the library website because their hours are subject to change. And the Shellfish Department is obviously dependent upon tide, so they want you to call for an appointment and continue to call for an appointment. And the Recreation Department, their hours are dependent upon the activities that are occurring, so you can stop by Bakersfield or call for an appointment and they'll get back to you. We're asking if folks are unvaccinated that they continue to wear a mask when they come into our public spaces. That is the CDC guidance. If you are vaccinated, we would like you to wear a mask, but it won't be required. The library is the only public space that's going to be requiring masking all the time by all individuals, vaccinated or unvaccinated. And the reason being, they get a lot of people in, and they also service a lot of children who cannot be vaccinated at this time. We want folks to maintain distancing when they're inside the public building so that we don't get too many people clumped up in a bunch. The mitigations that we have in place, the plexiglass and the closed doors, will stay in effect for the foreseeable future. We're going to continue meeting on Zoom until at least Labor Day. We currently don't have the ability to hold a hybrid meeting. We are looking into what we need to be able to accommodate that. We talked about certain meetings that might require the public presence, and so we have a couple options available for those types of meetings. And we can certainly talk more about that if folks have questions.
Okay. And Hillary, has this gone through the Board of Health and been approved?
Yeah, so the Board of Health reviewed it at their June meeting, and then we did send it to department heads as well. And so we've tweaked it a little bit here and there, and it did go back to the Board of Health. They didn't discuss it in a meeting, but I sent it to them and solicited their comments independently.
Okay. So we did ratify the original work plan that the Board of Health approved. I think it would be appropriate for us to do that too, but I also think it'd be appropriate for the Board of Health to actually take a vote on it as well. But that's up to them. But they are a regulatory body. Does Ryan, you have some questions on this?
Yep, I have two. One is I do not want any meetings to take place in person without the ability of the public to attend those meetings remotely as well. Go ahead, Hillary.
That's a question for me. Yeah. So we don't have the capability to hold an in-person and remote meeting, a hybrid meeting it's called, and we don't have the setup for that yet. But that is ideally what we'd like to look at going forward, because I think we've all seen remote participation is much greater than folks actually coming to sit in a room and meet with us. So I think it's a good option, COVID or not, to have that available. So we are committed to looking into that and getting the resources that we need.
Okay, and then but it does say in here that an in-person meeting could be held before Labor Day.
Yes.
But I would strongly, I do not really want that to happen unless the public has a way of participating remotely. And the other one is, so we can't use the library meeting room because it's being used for storage. Can we, why? Basically, that's one of the best meeting rooms in the town. You know, can it be vacated of the excess furniture and materials, and why was it used as a storage space? So
That's really a question for Jennifer. Jennifer's on here.
Hi, thank you. So we we just opened about 3 weeks ago to the public for the first time since COVID. And part of our reopening plan is to keep people masked and moving through the building very quickly. And in doing so, we've removed most of our seating and put it in the meeting room. So that's where it is right now. And we've also removed we've removed all of the toys from the children's room. The only thing that is in the children's room are books and AV materials for kids to check out. So all of the other detritus that was in there to play with is now in our meeting room. So that's not available as we are working through our phases of reopening.
So I would still say that room needs to be vacated. We only have a few rooms that are available for public. I mean, if we're going to say that the town hall basement can't be used, I mean, you can move some of that into the town hall basement. I know that's a lot of extra work, but I mean, we only have a couple adequate meeting rooms. If we're only going to start meeting after Labor Day, that's plenty of time. And as we get past into September, it's impractical a lot of times to be actually holding a meeting at the Bakersfield Pavilion. We should be equipping that room to serve its function as a meeting space and not as a storage space, considering that we only have a very limited number of actual meeting spaces within the town. So thank you.
Okay, I got Helen and then John.
Couple things. I've been open-minded about anything. I don't like hybrid meetings generally because it changes the presence of whoever's hybrid and whoever's there in real life. I would hope that we could do Zoom meetings all virtual for as long as possible. And the level of participation has been, in my experience, greater than in-person meetings. I always count at the beginning of every meeting how many people are there. Even if I'm in a real in-person meeting, I just sort of count the audience. And I think it's become more accessible to more people. And I've heard from a lot of people with young children that it makes their lives easier in terms of childcare. Not just young, but you don't want to leave a 8-year-old at home alone necessarily. And childcare is really expensive. But the other thing is, to double down on what Ryan said, when I read that we could use the fire station basement training room or the police station conference room, that's very kind of those departments. But there's a kind of barrier thing there that the public has to go through. You can't just walk into those buildings the way you can other public buildings. So I think the library meeting room absolutely should be liberated if we're going to start having meetings in person, which I hope we don't. And I also have to say that in the beginning, when we set up with Pres Hall, and I was really there for that, that building supposedly allows public meetings, municipal meetings to take place there free of charge. That was one of the deals. So I should think that rooms in whichever room in Pres Hall, and there have been some big meetings there that were municipal, from time to time, should be also added to this list because they're big roomy things. But through you, Mike, a question for Hillary. Is it possible for us to keep doing Zoom meetings as long as we want to?
No.
No.
Why is that?
Legislature.
There was an extension that goes until Labor Day, right, Ryan?
I'm not sure what the extension goes through.
So it's not an option.
Hold on. Charlie might know. He looks like he knows. I'm calling on Charlie.
Go for it.
I'm so grateful I actually know the answer. It would have been embarrassing. But anyway, the current legislation, I think, is through February of 2022.
Yay!
Wow.
So, but that it ends there. Now, I suspect there's going to be further changes, but we should look at that as the drop dead date at the moment. So.
To finish my point, now that we have that answer.
Quickly,
So I'm all for efficiency in meetings. And one of the things we have now is a kind of groove. We're used to Zoom. We're using it well for the most part. And I really hope we use it as long as we're allowed to by the state, just to keep things going in a stable way. And also so we don't have to readjust something in case there's some kind of surge.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hey, John.
Yes, this through you to, I think Jay Norton maybe. What does the town have by way of alternative storage spaces for this material? Would the old senior center, for instance, be a viable?
No, yeah.
No?
Isn't there a basement in the library?
It's very small.
It's very small and the town took it over for their storage.
Of course we did.
So,
okay.
I mean,
well, here's the deal.
it's not going to be forever. This is, it's certainly, I'm just saying we just opened and we could.
Sorry, Jennifer, I just want to get to the.
I never got my question answered.
Until Labor Day. Can we just leave it alone till Labor Day and let the library use it as storage till Labor Day? Is the board all right with that?
Mr. Chair, this is Jay Norton.
Okay. Yeah.
I just want to respond to John's question. We have limited storage, John, and that COA building is going to be torn down as part of the affordable housing unit project. But we do have lean-to units in the DPW garage that we're looking to, consolidate and get rid of some old stuff in there. So that could be a possibility. But other than that, we really are very limited in our storage.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Is the board all right with leaving the library, allowing the library to utilize that space until Labor Day? And then readdressing it?
Yes.
As long as they're out of there by then.
Well, let's just take it up by then. Right before then.
I'd be okay with it.
So I think, it's fair enough. I mean, the library is an active place. So if this is their approved plan, this is go through Board of Health. As far as I'm concerned, this is a Board of Health, right? Has ability to make this regulation on its own. They don't need us. Helen?
Yeah, we want those library materials. Do they include any of the stuffed animals?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
We don't want anything like that anywhere that's moldy. So that room is, better than some of the other places that have just been brought up.
Just want to bring it back to the fact that
I can look at this Labor Day, but I'd simply like to have them be able to use it for as long as we get to have virtual meetings. In other words,
just readdress this right before Labor Day. We're already at that point. We don't need to go. I think the board's all in agreement that we can leave it until Labor Day. We'll come back to it at that point.
Thank you.
Right prior to Labor Day and readdress it. Any other issues with this? I think, if we're allowing in-person meetings and there are venues for them to be held, I mean, I don't think we necessarily have to have hybrid meetings. If say like the recycling committee wants to meet, how many people go in person to recycling committee meetings to participate? 2, 3, 5, I don't really know. I'm just saying, then they're also available on YouTube if we, if they're filmed or in that type of space. So I think most people are going to want to continue doing what we're doing, but I don't think we really need to overrule the health agent or the Board of Health on that issue. So I'm fine with this the way it is, as long as we put till Labor Day in the library, and we'll come back to that. Is that all right?
Yeah.
Anybody have a problem with that on the board? John?
No, no, I don't have a problem with that. I had another question.
Go ahead, you can ask your question.
Okay, through you to Hillary. Regarding the town hall offices, so they're going to be open to a limited extent. What's the rationale behind having them open, say, for a couple of days, as opposed to opening them up 5 days a week, or at least for limited hours?
So I think when we surveyed the staff, we know that some of our staff are unvaccinated. And we know that in the summer months, our population explodes from our 3,000 to 23,000. And we also know that people just wander into the town hall to ask casual questions. And I think what we're trying to do is cut down on, any type of transmission that way we may get unnecessarily. So if we limit the hours and keep it sort of compact, we have a better handle on it, and we have a better handle on the numbers of people that come in. And, like I said, we can retool this at any time. So if we start with 2 days and we see that we're not getting an excess of people in anymore, or gee, this is really working good, maybe we can go to that third day, then we're committed to reevaluating. So I think this is just a jumping off point because we've been closed up for so long. We know that we want to have the public back in, and not necessarily by appointment. So we want to try this and see how it works. And if there's no issues and cases remain low in our area, then we can reevaluate. But there is a bit of a fear of the amount of people, on a rainy day in downtown Wellfleet that just come wandering into the building because it looks neat. So we reached out to our staff, and some staff aren't happy at all even considering opening this summer. So it was really sort of, a middle of the road approach to getting us further than we are today.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Ryan?
And can I just add one more thing, because we talked about this in-person meeting? The reason that we put it into the plan was because we had heard about a meeting that was supposed to be, attended by a lot of people, and there were connection issues and people were getting lost at the meeting. And so there were some people meeting in a remote location. And so it seemed like some meetings might warrant an actual in-person meeting. And that's why Bakersfield Pavilion was thought of, because it was still an outdoor space where we could get people, a larger amount of people to gather for, an important type of meeting. What that might be right now, I'm at a loss to tell you, but possibly a regulation change or something where, the people that we want to attend the meeting couldn't attend it virtually. So we just wanted to have that option available in the event that something came up that needed that.
Ryan?
Appreciate it, thank you.
Yeah, if you're proposing a regulation change, you should have as many people as possible in the meeting, not necessarily just who can attend in person or feel comfortable to attend. That is a prime example of where you need to maximize the number of people. I do not support at all any meeting in person where the public can only, where the public has no ability to attend remotely. I do not think that should be part of our policy whatsoever. And I know that there are some people that do prefer in person, and I think in terms of maximizing public participation, we're probably going to have to go to a hybrid in the near future. But I really do not want any board or committee or public body meeting in a way that where the public participation is not maximized. And that's within our purview. It's not within the Board of Health's purview to say how we want meetings to be held. So thank you.
Yep, I got Helen and then John.
Yeah, a couple things. I agree with Ryan. And there are different kinds of hybrid meetings, and the Shellfish Advisory Board had a very good one that was held in part with people participating from one laptop in the pavilion. And it was a remarkable meeting. That was that famous June 4th meeting. And many people got up to speak and were fully able to communicate through the one laptop, which Nancy was managing very well. And at the same time, there was a virtual meeting going on. So they got to participate through with the help of the Shellfish Constable and were fully heard. And I agree with Ryan, we cannot discourage anybody's participation and want to encourage it, in fact, not just have it be possible to happen, but help it be better. That's the first thing. The second thing is a question for Hillary. So here we have the reopening plan. I really do hope that the Board of Health votes on it. But number 4, it says, in consideration the heightened number of visitors during the summer season, et cetera, masking will be strongly urged inside all Wellfleet public buildings by staff and the public. So here's a question. Strongly urged, why can't we mandate that? In other words, why can't we mandate that if somebody's working in the privacy of their own office and they can close the door? Why should they wear a mask? Certainly, but why can't we mandate that anybody who comes in from the outside has to have a mask on? Is there some law against that?
No, there's no law against it. But we just felt like those that are vaccinated don't need to wear a mask. That's the guidance that the state gives us. We can be more strict, but I'm worried about our staff having a constant fight with the public who comes in, and a lot of our regulars, we know their vaccination status, not everyone's, of course, but I don't want to see our employees getting involved in, some type of altercation. We don't have a guard at the door, obviously. And it just seemed like if we strongly urge it, most people will wear the mask. Some won't, but most will. Again, our staff, if they choose to wear the mask, we strongly urge it and we strongly recommend it. So I think that's the place we're at. We don't want to have our staff fighting with the public. And again, we're gonna see what happens. We're gonna start with 2 days a week, and maybe everyone will come in wearing their mask. Maybe we'll be surprised. Maybe they won't. But we need to start somewhere and see. And we also need to follow our case counts closely and be aware of what's going on in our community. So I think it's a function of a couple different things. And if cases start going up, then we would require it instead of strongly urge or recommend.
Okay. All right. So just we're at 2 hours and 20 minutes. We still have quite a bit of agenda left. I just want to bring it back home here. Do we have an amendment on this that's being offered, or are we ready to take a vote on it? Can we have a motion?
Can I just add one thing, Mike?
Yes.
It's not a Board of Health regulation. It's just a reopening plan that they've approved. So we worked with Charlie, the town department heads, and the Board of Health reviewed it at their June meeting. I don't know the date off the top of my head. Then I took in some comments from department heads. The comments weren't substantial. One was I had Shellfish Department dependent upon time instead of tide, so it was a typo. One was Council on Aging, which was changed to Adult Community Center. So they were small changes like that. And the Recreation Department hours. So it wasn't, anything substantial that had changed after the board voted upon it. And they did receive, 2 updated copies as changes were made.
Okay. So what I would like is to get to a vote. And if that means offering an amendment to it or just taking a vote, as is. I'd like to get there sooner than later.
I don't know if this involves an amendment or not. I just wanted to indicate I strongly agree with what Ryan said about meetings that can be attended by everybody. So I don't know if that's going to require an amendment.
I'm happy to take it out if that's the will of the board. I thought like we could have an option, but if it's not palatable at the moment, then we'll just take it out and consider it going forward. So the plan is adaptable and we can be flexible with it. So I don't have a problem just removing it if that's what the board is in favor of.
Which section is that, please, John?
It's number 9 talks about meetings. And there's a sentence at the end of the first paragraph that says an in-person meeting will be allowed with approval from the town administrator and the buildings department head in consultation with the health agent. So we could just wipe out that sentence.
And just before, on occasion, a board or committee may, because the first sentence says that they will not resume in person. And then we have 2 sentences that say they could resume.
I'm happy to wipe it out if that's the will of the board. So just let me know.
That's what I would want. I don't know where everybody else is at.
I would prefer to leave it in there with that structure of approval. We just had an outdoor town meeting. And I think that, as far as participants, we do get more participation on these Zoom meetings, but there are a subset of our residents that are excluded by technophobia, let's call it, or technological, disadvantage. And it's kind of funny because a lot of times our in-person meetings were the opposite. I mean, it was the people who were elder populations, less technological, that would make it and sit through our in-person meetings, and a lot of younger people who have kids and work regular jobs didn't make it. So I do like the idea of having hybrid meetings. I don't think that we should necessarily eliminate the possibility of having a meeting, but it should be under those contingencies that are laid out here, where it would have to be subject to the approval of the town administrator and the health agent and XYZ. So I'm okay with leaving that in, but maybe on occasion a board or committee may meet in person. Yeah, no, I think the second sentence there, an in-person meeting if we put only be allowed with the approval of, you know what I mean? Would that satisfy you, Ryan?
No, not unless it can be a hybrid.
I think hybrid would satisfy.
Yeah, but the town's not there
We don't
yet.
have that policy worked out and the equipment to do that at this moment.
We don't have it right now, but we are gonna work in that direction. We have to buy equipment. We have to get a room set up for this. It's not an easy thing to do, but we know Orleans, I think, has been set up for it, and there's one other town. So there's a model that we can follow. We just need to find the money and get the tools and the people.
I mean, I'm okay with it the way it is, so it's gonna be up to you guys.
Mike?
Yes.
So I'm okay with it the way it is too, because I feel it allows for what Ryan wants. You can't anyway, under open meeting law, exclude people. So the thing that's bothering me is in 9, the available meeting rooms. Why is Press Hall not on here? And since we're not talking about anything happening immediately in terms of in-person meetings, why is the library, when a library meeting room when available, you could say, but Press Hall, and I mean, good heavens, if you're going to have the departments, the 2 police and fire departments rooms available with that kind of, it's more removed, it's less welcoming and open, even though both departments are welcoming and very good to allow that space to be available. Don't get me wrong, but please add Press Hall and add the library when available.
What if we just said outdoor in-person board and committee meetings? Or in-person meetings will be allowed outdoor with the approval And that would just limit it to the Bakersfield Pavilion, basically.
Or, you know, a public place, it could be at the ball field if you want to get. I'm not going to any indoor in-person meetings anytime
Yeah.
soon.
I'm just
Sorry.
assuming it's gonna be outside, but I guess it doesn't say that.
So, I mean, the problem is that it says that it will not resume, and then it says that they can resume in the same paragraph.
Well, it says after Labor Day.
Yeah, it says, but then it says on occasion may meet in person, depending on the nature of their business.
It was a
After
may
Labor Day.
need, so it's more of a need than a desire.
I see the language issue. I'm sorry, I should have raised my hand.
Yeah, no, I assumed it all meant, yeah. Yeah, there is a language issue. It said,
Once resumed, if you put once resumed before meetings in the second line, that makes it clear.
if you wrote, Charlie.
Oh, thank you, everybody. You know, what I'd suggest is, we do have a lot on the agenda. This needs some work. Why don't we strike these last two sentences in 9? Hillary, we've got a lot of input from the board. We can work on this small matter and bring it back to the board. But I think the vast majority of what we're doing, I think you're comfortable with, and that'll hold us in good place for a couple of weeks.
Okay, so I move to approve the municipal reopening plan with the last two sentences of section 9 removed.
Second.
Roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Brian, I.
Michael, I.
Well, wait a minute. What about, hold on. So you're going to do a separate amendment for adding those spaces?
There's no need to add the spaces right now if we're eliminating those two sentences.
Okay. Helen, I.
Okay. The roll, motion.
Janet, I.
Oh, Janet, yeah, okay, 5-0.
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, now Danny.
Hey, Mr. Chair, thank you. I'm going to talk really fast because
Thank you. I
this has been a
really
long day.
appreciate that.
I just wanted to really go over very quickly the town meeting, sort of an after action report. First off, I want to thank all the department heads. I'm not going to, I'll save the time. I won't name them all, but basically every department head and their staff really stepped up to the plate and helped a lot. I do want to make special mention and special thank you to Harry Turkani and Chief Pauly, who really did a tremendous amount of work, you know, in areas that were not necessarily their responsibility. And to Charlie, who came in, you know, late in the game and really picked up the ball and ran with it. And again, a special mention to Rebecca Eldridge, who really did a lot of work to help pull everything together. So just, you know, thank you to all of those. I had intended to send the board a memo. I just did not get it done in time. I will have something for you, so you'll have all those names in writing, so you can maybe make a record of it at your next meeting. In terms of procedure, I very much like the way we did it this year again, with the chair and the vice chair making the main motions and the second. I don't think there's any disadvantage to that. I'd like to continue that going forward. I think it helped move the meeting along. And I also would like to recommend to the board that, you know, as you assemble a warrant, that you continue to group it in such ways that we can use consent calendars whenever possible. Again, I think for the non-controversial things that saved a lot of time, I think the voters appreciate it. I think it helped move the meeting along. Just in terms of the warrant and the motions booklet themselves, I maybe take the board to task a little bit. You really need to get the warrant articles out to the boards and committees sooner than you did for this meeting. I know it was a kind of chaotic process, but in terms of the boards having time to meet and make the recommendations, so that they make it into the warrant. I think the board needs to kind of step up their game, and also to hold the boards and committees' feet to their fire, that they need to meet and they need to make the recommendations. And again, going forward, I'm hoping the process is a little more orderly. I mean, I did have most of those in hand, but a much larger number than ever before didn't make it into the warrant. The motions booklet themselves, again, I think that's a good practice. I think it saves a lot of time in terms of what we have to read, and I think people are happy with that. Town council is satisfied with it. One thing that was missing from the motions booklet this time around, that was in the prior ones, was the quantum of vote. It showed up in the warrant, but where people were, I think, doing a lot of the reading from the motions booklet. I'd like to see the quantum of vote also printed in the motions booklet going forward. The only other comments that I really have at this time is I really like the fact that we met on a Saturday, especially given the length of this meeting. Those would have been two very long meetings. And I've said this before, I'm going to recommend it again to the board that you strongly consider using Saturday as a day for our town meetings going forward. Now, I understand this Saturday was difficult for a lot of people, but we don't normally meet at the end of June in the middle of, when people are in season and changing over cottages and so forth. But I think fall town meeting that it's being considered, late in the fall, could certainly be on a Saturday, and our normal meeting time, which is at the end of April, before a lot of seasonal businesses are open or when the town is not as busy, I think provides an opportunity for a lot more people to attend. I think the quality of the debate is better when people aren't tired and irritable. I think it would make it easier if we were trying to move forward doing childcare, which we have talked about, but because of COVID, we were not able to do. So I think there's a lot of arguments to be made for a Saturday town meeting. I hope the board gives it serious consideration. And finally, the last thing is, I know it's not really a wrap up, but Charlie and I have already talked about when we should start thinking about a fall town meeting. It does seem like we're going to need one, and I'd like the board to start thinking about that now. Tentatively looking at the dates of Charlie and I think we looked at the last two Saturdays in October, October 23rd or October 30th. I think Charlie said that he would like as much time as possible to try to get free cash certified. So those dates would work for me. I think they'd work well for the town. And I'm hoping by then we all have the comfort that we can meet in the school again, that the vaccination rates will be high enough and the COVID numbers will be down low enough that we can go back to an indoor meeting. The outdoor meeting, it's a nice setting, but by the end, late fall, I think the weather's a lot iffier. And the logistics of pulling it off really are a lot more challenging for town staff. So that's about as fast as I can make it. I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you.
John.
Yes. The only thing I would add is I especially in the fall when it's going to be chillier and when it's more likely we'll be meeting indoors, given proper conditions. I have a real problem with the fact that we met in the middle of the day when a lot of people are at work who would have been good to have had a town meeting. So if we can accommodate that going forward, I think we really need to give that a lot of thought.
Yeah, we're going to have that discussion.
Yeah.
Because you always leave somebody out.
Yeah, we left a lot of people out, I think.
Particularly at the end of June too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, with permission, I agree. I mean, and that was an unusual time. I mean, a lot more people are working on a Saturday at the end of June than they would be at the end of April.
Or October.
I'm sorry. Yeah, the problem I've also heard over the years and have witnessed is that there are people who don't come to a meeting that starts at 6, 7 o'clock at night because they've got childcare issues, because they've got to get up and go to work the next day. And as I've said before, Charlie, I'm sorry, Harry Turkanian has said this to me. I've heard it from other towns. The towns that have their meetings on Saturday can't imagine meeting at night. And the towns that have their meetings at night can't imagine going to Saturday meetings. So there's always going to be somebody who's at disadvantage no matter when we hold a meeting. I think the board should really hear from the public, as to what they prefer. I mean, I have my preference. I think the meetings are better attended on Saturday. I think they're better argued on Saturday because I think people are fresher by the end of the meeting. And I think it's more likely we get it done in one session. I recognize that it does present difficulties for some people who work, but so do the nighttime meetings. The nighttime meetings present a problem for people with young children. They present a problem with people who have to get up and go to work early the next day. So there's not a perfect answer to everything. I think we're asking people to give up, 3 or 4 hours, ideally, on one day a year, or maybe 2 days a year. But aside from that, I think there's strong arguments been made for Saturday. That's my personal feeling.
I would concur with that in that I've had several experiences where town meeting is either me or my partner Katie that make it to town meeting because, with a toddler, you can't keep them up that late, you'll pay for it for 3 days. So and people do work at night, and a lot of young people wind up working at night. And so the demographics shift quite a bit at those night town meetings. So, I mean, that's the problem with town meeting is there's some inherent undemocratic part of it in that not everybody can be included. And I think we have to acknowledge that and then try and figure out how can we get the most people there. A lot of people tend to take weekends off, particularly in the off season. So, yeah, John?
I think Dan's suggestion was a good one, that we do the best we can to hear from the public on that.
Yep. I think so. Then that could be a meeting for a public, what do we call it? Public forum.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Also like to just thank Harry again for literally like making something out of nothing in a very short period of time. So, thank you, Harry. Okay.
Amen.
I think that's it. Helen,
No,
I can't see your hand. Helen, can you make your hand yellow instead of that color? Because it blends right into your background. You can't see it.
Yeah, I know, except that, I'll do this. Never mind. I have family members who are Asian, so there've been conversations about this. Anyway, I agree with Saturdays, and I want to point out to everybody that we had 2 long town meetings, both of which were finished in one day, and after which I heard from a lot of people that they really liked it. So that's one thing. The other thing is, please, we don't know what the situation is in terms of communicability, in terms of whatever the pandemic's doing. And having a town meeting at the end of October, we know that it's going to be colder than September. And I would say a cutoff point should be the end of September for a fall town meeting. However, that can be managed with respect for the amount of work that might mean. Because to get back to what Ryan said, previous agenda item, the idea is to make it as possible for as many.
You just got muted.
You got muted, Helen. It wasn't me, I swear.
I said, the point is, to tag on to what Ryan said, previous agenda item, the point is to get as many people to come to any kind of open meeting, which town meeting is, and for them to be as comfortable as possible, given that we cannot get everybody in exactly the way that it would be the most convenient to them. So please, let's not have a meeting that far into October when it's all going to be colder. Thank you.
That's just a discussion for another day. I think we can't even do it right now. So let's just leave it for that day. Not go into great detail right now, because it's going to have to come down to when our accountants get to the point where we know when we can meet, that we can actually make the transfers that are necessary to balance things. So with that, I'd like to move on from this and on to the next agenda item. Is that all right with everyone?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, we're
Thank you.
creeping up on 3 hours right now. So, and now reorganization of the select board. So
There we go. I'll raise my hand.
I raised
So-
my hand.
Who you want to go first, Michael?
Janet, you raised your hand first.
So I would like to reappoint Michael Devasto for another term as chair of the select board. He's done an incredible job in probably the hardest year ever. And he's well-spoken and fair, and I think he'd be great for another term.
I'd be happy to do it, but John?
I would like to nominate Ryan Curley to take over the chairmanship of the select board. Not a negative reflection on the current chairmanship, but I think Ryan has demonstrated strong attention to detail, the ability to insist on crossing all the Ts and dotting all the Is, and I think it would be a positive change at a time when we do need to change things up.
Mike?
Ellen? Yep.
Yeah. So a little while ago, and this goes into the public record, I hope, I sent an email asking no response to the select board, copying to Rebecca and Charlie, saying, why don't we all say what we'd be willing to do this year? In other words, I said the only thing I'd be willing to do would be vice chair, not to say I wouldn't vote for Janet to be vice chair. I'm just saying that's all I'd be willing to do. And we have somebody to go on the Cape Cod Wastewater Collaborative and the affiliated water protection group from the Cape Cod Commission that Justina was on. We have those positions. And we have, so we have chair, vice chair, clerk, and the person that we designate to go and sign the payroll warrants in particular. And I really think it would be civilized, A, to consider rotating the chair, which a lot of municipalities do, given that, you know, if you come up in the rotation, you could say, I really can't do it this year. I could maybe do it next year. And no disrespect to Michael's really good chairing this year, which I greatly appreciate. But I think rotating it creates a better situation. That said, I would like to hear, given that Mike has said he'd be willing to be chair, if Mike, first of all, would be willing to do anything else in addition to offering to be chair, and to hear from John and Janet and Ryan, having heard from me what I'd be willing to do. And let's be civilized. Let's do it that way. And just hear what any one of us is willing to serve as this year for this board. Could we do that, please?
I'm not sure what being civilized has to do with it. There's a tradition of how you elect a chair, vice chair, clerk on any committee. And, you know, I suppose Ryan should say whether he wants to be chair, but it's, you know, I know Helen mentioned she wanted to be vice chair.
No, I said I would be willing to do it, not that I wanted to do it. That's different, Jan.
Okay, you're right. Okay. So I don't know. I'm for keeping the nomination the way it's been for however many hundreds of years. So we nominate different people and then we vote for them. Is Ryan willing to be chair?
I'm willing to serve in any capacity, so.
Is there any capacity you would not like to serve in?
I would prefer not to have to sign the warrants, the payroll warrants anymore. That's usually the low man on the totem pole that gets that. It kind of screws up.
The
Yeah.
know who
clerk-
that is.
Clerk, that's,
Yeah. So it kind of screws up my ability to plan to go on a long weekend.
so, I guess Janet made a first motion.
Yeah,
To nominate, did you make a motion?
I think I did. I mean, we talked so much, I forget what the motions were, but yes, I move to reappoint Michael Devasto as chair of the select board.
Okay. Is there a second? I guess I will second that, I guess. Okay, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
Okay, Michael, I.
John, nay.
Ryan, no.
Helen, no.
Okay.
Because, and I wanna qualify that. It's a no, but only because I think we should be rotating the chairship, no matter who's in it now. Thank you.
Okay, well then I nominate Ryan Curley.
I'll second.
Janet, nay.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Helen,
Oh, Mike, I'm waiting for you.
I'm gonna wait for you.
Okay, Helen, I.
Okay, Michael, I.
So I want to just ask this board, you know how rumors love to spread throughout town on a regular basis. And I have heard rumors of kind of a takeover by shellfish people and by even some conspiracy things. And I just want to know, I mean, Michael has really done an excellent job being a chair. And he has the experience, and I mean, Ryan would too. And I just want to know if there's some kind of a collusion between the three of you. That's what I want to know.
No.
Mike, can I answer Janet? That's a fair question. I have only discussed what I would like to do with all of you in that email and this evening. And I think Mike has been a really good chair, and I've said so repeatedly, and to him personally and to other people. You know, I mean, we all have our moments, but that isn't it. I think it should be a rotating position.
Okay.
And I have not colluded, and I'm allergic to collusions, and I'm allergic to voting blocks. Thank you. But it's a reasonable question. Thank you.
Okay, so John?
Yeah, I'd like to answer that too. I have discussed this with nobody, with the sole exception of asking Ryan if he would be willing to serve if he was nominated. So where this conspiracy thing comes from is something I'm totally unaware of, but it's certainly nothing I would have participated in.
Good.
Janet, Ryan, you have your hand up?
Yeah, I haven't, yeah. The only conversation I had was with John, where he asked me if I would be willing to do it, and I said I would. I have not discussed it with anybody really, besides that. And I actually do agree with Helen, that makes sense to kind of rotate it, because it gives everybody a better understanding of what the chair has to, you know, the responsibilities that are borne by the chair. So I don't know.
I don't know about rotating chairs. I think that the process of nominating a chair should remain the way that it is. I think that people want to step up and do it, then, you know, you make that known, and should you be nominated and supported, then that's the way it be. I don't necessarily think that it's productive to rotate just based on arbitrary thing. So I'm more than happy to step aside and let somebody else take over this, the extra work that goes into being chair. And I'm fully supportive of moving forward in this direction. So, so no hard feelings on my part. I'm honored to have served this year. It certainly has been a difficult one to get through, and hopefully things will be a little bit easier on the next chair. And yeah, that's basically all I have to say about that. And yeah, we can keep moving here. We've got a few other appointments.
Well, I would just add that being chair, it takes a number of years to get even really good at it and to understand all of the responsibilities and work that goes along with it. So I disagree with rotating chair every year. You know, maybe every 2 years or 3 years, but you got to get the hang of it.
I will say that I feel like I've just sort of gotten the hang of being chair, but you know, it was very difficult without administration being continuous and having that sort of, there was a lot of lack of communication, and that made things extremely difficult. So you know, it did take me a while to really sort of develop into the role. So I think it does behoove the board, I think, to keep people in chair for longer than one term if they want to do it, because there is a continuity to it. There is that sort of breakdown in of, you know, the learning curve, I guess. But that said, I'm more than happy to spend more time playing with my 3-year-old. So
May we move on to the other positions?
Yes, we can.
Filled.
And
So
just-
through you, Mike, if I may,
Mhm.
I want to ask John. So one of the positions that the newest person on the board usually does, but I think everything's open and up for grabs, is to be the clerk. And the clerk doesn't have to do very much, but we have to have an official clerk, because every once in a while, it's only the clerk that signs something. What are you willing to do, given what's left in terms of positions? Maybe not that.
Oh, I'd be perfectly happy to do that.
Yeah, since I've been on the board, and before that, the newest person on the board winds up being the clerk, and they're replaced by the next newest person on the board. It's not a bad job. I mean, you get to know town hall, and you're in there more often to sign stuff that only the clerk signs, and the warrants and stuff like that. So
I do have one.
No, that's a separate designation, Mike.
Oh, I thought that the clerk can't.
True, but not really. I mean, that's.
Yeah, no, it is. We passed.
Yeah.
We approved the fact that we could do it. I think there was another step with the state or something. Anyway,
Yeah. And then
the
we made
point
it
is, that's a separate decision for us tonight. Who can sign those warrants so that, you know, the payrolls can go out?
Well, I'll take that on too, if you want.
Yeah, I think that the clerk, it makes sense, because the clerk doesn't do that much else other
Yeah,
than that. You know?
it seems logical to me. Question regarding that. The timeline for doing these things. I'm just throwing this out hypothetically, probably sometime in the next year or so, I'm going to find that I'm on track to become a grandfather. And will I be able to skip out of town for a few days or a week once in a blue moon?
Sure.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can all sign the warrant if you're not here.
Yeah, you can get 3 signatures on the warrant, but
Yeah.
we all do that. I mean, we
You
all
just-
take a few days off.
You just
We
need to
just get it in, you know?
tell administration that they need to get 3 signatures. If you have that role where you can be the sole signature on the
Mhm.
warrant, that we did that so that people could get paid on time, you know?
Right.
So that only one person had to sign, so that, you know, that happens. But if you're gone, you just say, hey, I'm not going to be here. And then Rebecca will send out an email saying, like, we need 3 signatures on the warrant.
I see.
Yep, that's it.
Yeah, well, it seems like a logical position for me to take, and
Yep.
as a way to really get to learn
Okay,
ropes
I
at town
nominate
hall. And
John Wolf as the clerk and to designate him to sign the warrant.
Second.
Okay, roll call vote. Oh, wait, Ryan.
Oh,
I think
sorry.
Actually, you're chair right now.
All right, roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Michael, I.
Ryan, I.
Helen, I.
Okay, now you gotta say what passed.
Oh,
5-0.
motion
You don't have-
carried 5-0.
I always do that, just for the record. And you're chair right now, Ryan. That's how it worked for me. I was caught off guard.
Nominations
Oh, yeah.
for
Now I'm-
nominations for vice chair.
I'd be happy to continue. I'd be happy to do that and step in when you're not here.
I nominate Michael Devasto for vice chair.
I'll second.
Yep, all right.
Okay, roll call vote. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get used to it too.
Yeah,
Roll call vote.
Janet, I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Michael, I.
Helen, I.
Motion carries 5-0.
Okay.
I believe that's it, correct?
Yeah, and then there's the two positions for
Oh.
water.
And I have what they are. Hold on.
Yeah, so
Yes, I do have what they are.
that's the Cape Cod. I had this before. I don't have it right now. Do we have to do those tonight?
Yes, we do.
I don't know if we've ever done that before either. I think we usually wait.
Here we go. I got
Do
them.
it
I got them,
tonight.
guys.
Listen,
Okay. The two positions, may I just say what they are? Ryan, I'm asking.
I think that we should leave it till next meeting.
I'm not sure if they don't have a meeting coming up.
Ryan, Mr. Chair, through you.
Go ahead.
People that have been appointed are still appointed. And
Yeah.
Jessica did reach out to us with a message. I don't know if she's interested in continuing to do it, but we don't have to appoint a select board member to do that either. So
Oh, right. So we're covered.
we're covered right now, so we can wait and then do it. So
What is this appointment?
Yeah, I think just for the sake of clarity, that we'll have to do that at a separate meeting.
it's not really a board reorganization, but we do need to appoint them, and it wasn't listed in here. But I think you could get in touch with Justina. She's still actually appointed by us.
Oh,
for the water one. I don't know, but and then what's the other one, Helen?
Ryan,
I
can
don't
I
have it.
recognize? I have them. Can I read them?
Yes,
Also, I sent all of you the links to what they were.
Right.
In that email about, let's all say what we might be willing to do a while ago. So one of them is the water, the Cape Cod and Islands Water Protection Fund, which has to be somebody on the select board, the town administrator, or staff. However, its affiliated committee, if you want to call it a committee, is the Cape Cod Water Protection Collaborative. And that's the one that can be, we could keep Justina on it. The thing that worries me a little bit is it seems to me there's a blinking light in my head, maybe wrong, that there's a meeting coming up sometime soon. And that's the reason I included that in that list.
I just think that we just need to move on for tonight, and we'll come back to it at a future meeting, probably the next regularly scheduled meeting. So if we can move on to the report from Lieutenant Lavaraco and Police Chief Hurley. So
thank you, Mr. Chair. Just real quick, and I apologize yesterday for those of you that were able to see it. I did send an email because I wasn't able to get in the pack. It was just a breakdown of what the July 4th weekend cost at Cahoon Hollow. just so that you had that information for the discussion this evening. And we'll make it brief. I'll turn it over to Lieutenant, who was the operational officer up on the beaches that weekend, and actually probably, as we're looking down the barrel now, probably most weekends through the summer. So I'll turn it over to the Lieutenant.
Good evening, Mr. Chair and members of the board. So we did have a very busy weekend, 4th of July weekend up at Cahoon Hollow Beach. We saw record numbers for buses this year. Total of, I believe, about 73 buses over the course of the weekend from Friday through Monday, with the majority being Saturday and Sunday. Saturday, we saw 35 school buses. Sunday, we saw 30 school buses. This is strictly, that was just a bus count. We also had hundreds of Ubers and taxis and a lot more drop-offs. I do need to commend Officer Spiegel for helping us out and coming up with a organization of drop-off location up on Ocean View Drive, because as the buses and taxis and Ubers can't go down to Cahoon Hollow, we set up an area to have these drop-offs, and we were able to get everyone safely down to the beach and their destination. Sorry, just lost my thought. We ended up having 4 officers on ATVs and 4 officers on traffic control, with a total of 8 officers on the beaches each day over the weekend. It actually did drop off on Monday. We didn't have as much staff up there, but over the course of the weekend, we did have several people that were seen urinating on the beach. Myself and Detective Daly, we walked through the crowds, and everyone was warned, and the problem was rectified. After that point, it was not an issue from there on. We did take in 3 people into custody for intoxication, and assisted the National Park Service with 1 OUI stop right up in OVD by Cahoon Hollow. Other than that, we did have several other intoxicated subjects that were asked to leave the beach. We were able to find people sober enough to take them and get them off the beach and back home. We assisted 7 people with first aid on the beach with the ATVs, and that was pretty much over the course of the weekend just at Cahoon Hollow Beach. We did have 2 officers placed up on the beaches at nighttime to deal with just firework calls alone, which is always an ongoing problem. Literally, fireworks go off at LeCount Hollow. We run down there. They're going off over on Newcomb. So we were able to identify several subjects down at Cahoon Hollow where they were taken off the beach, and we stopped the fireworks at that point. So other than that, that's more or less the wrap up of the weekend. As we move forward, this is a growing problem. The bus drop-offs, the taxis, the Ubers at Cahoon Hollow Beach. Just this last weekend, we did see 20 school buses on Saturday, where we did have 4 officers up there dealing with the traffic, dealing with the subjects going down to the beach, patrolling the beach as well. And I have to commend our staff over the 4th of July weekend. They did an amazing job. And a big shout out to the fire department as well, because Saturday we were so busy, nobody ate lunch. And on Sunday, Captain Capello brought everyone up lunch on Sunday because he found out we didn't eat. But that's pretty much a wrap up of the weekend if anyone has any questions.
Okay.
All right, Helen?
Yeah, would you please compare this to, let's say, 2019, if that's possible, if you have anything off the top of your head with respect for one's memory?
On the amount of bus drop-offs?
Just any part of it.
Well, last year, even in 2020, we had and I know the chief sent out a memo that was forwarded to you. We had a fight down on the beach of about 60 people.
Right. But that was
So-
last year. Last year was strange. This is 22, but,
2019 was busy on the 4th of July weekend. Our record number of buses, I believe, were 32. So we saw 35 on one day. So it was pretty comparable, I believe, to 2019 and 2018 even.
And if I could, Helen, in all of 2019, from Memorial Day to Labor Day, we saw 93 buses total for that whole summer. This is, at this point, we've eclipsed that number. We'll probably end up in the hundreds this year. We're all over social media now. We're on TikTok, we're on Instagram. This is the place to come. There's a mechanism in place for them to come now. And it's becoming very difficult to manage. I give everyone credit from the lieutenant down that we are managing it, but we have a whole town to patrol and deal with all types of various other issues. So I know it's not an agenda item for this evening, but I really think, we've been kicking this can around since 2018, and we just never come to any resolution on this. And I really feel that a working group or a task force should really meet, through the fall and come up with some recommendations, or just see what our options are, from legal options to operational options, and to cost factors. And I believe, with public safety, beach, and a liaison from the board, that we meet and try to really hash this out, because we can't do it during select board meetings. There's just way too much going on. But I just think that moving forward, we'll get through this summer somehow, but I don't think this is ending.
Chief Polly.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just as a brief point of reference, I myself was also down at Cahoon Hollow Saturday and Sunday. Please bear in mind what the weather conditions were. It was not sunny, it was not warm, and all we had was tents down there and raging parties, no families, and this problem continues. And it's, with all due respect to this board, and I respect each one of you, we need to get a handle on this thing, because it's only going to get worse. And I totally support Chief Hurley with a task force or a working group to put something in front of the board before the next season starts up. We'll get through this year, but this is not going away. It's going to get worse, and there's going to be some real harm and liability to the community, to public safety, and to the town. So please give us the tools we need, and let's fix this thing. Thank you.
Okay, so my perspective is that it's creating an inordinate burden on town resources to service basically a business. I don't know. I mean, we've got your memo. You responded that $4,000 basically of the details cost was billed to some of the businesses contributing to the issue, but 4,000 was also basically absorbed by the town. It's just really, and yes, I mean, luckily this year there wasn't a fight, but we can't count on that in the future. And the number of officers that have to be deployed just to ensure minimal safety is quite high. That's just from my perspective. But Michael Devasto, or Mike.
Yeah, I guess I was wondering what the tools you need us to provide are specifically. Do we know that right now, or is that?
Well, I mean, to be honest, at this point, we are in the middle of the battle right now. So, I mean, right now, we're just trying to get through each weekend.
Sure.
The
I'm just
lieutenant,
talking about in the future.
yeah, I mean, I really
What
think
is it
that we
you
should,
need from the board.
well, I mean, I think what we need to do is the chief stated, with the working group is, I mean, we need to know legal options, number one. I mean, what can and can't we do up there? With the property, charging, entrance, and I'll be frankly honest with you. The biggest problem at the moment and going forward it's you cannot drink on town property and town beaches, but you can drink on the seashore. And I'll boil it down. That's our biggest issue down there. And it's, we're seeing the alcohol come off the buses. It's not against the law to walk down the road with closed containers. We are doing the best we can to manage the beach, but I mean, we're just surviving down there. And to be honest, we have to be there. It's a public safety issue. And once the lieutenant started getting some word on the amount of buses coming in, we doubled our staff to 8 down there Saturday and Sunday. And we were still holding on by the seat of our pants. So, and we have a whole town to patrol. We're a 14, member police department here with only 2 summer officers. So, as far as tools, legal options, money, I mean, that's gonna, this is not sustainable either, spending resources and money, and just see what our options are. And they may not be good options, but I just think we really need to explore this and not, as we've done, just kind of kick it around over the winter and then other emergencies take over.
Janet?
Yeah, so I agree with both the chiefs that we should have a task force group meetings on this. And I see Suzanne is not on tonight, but certainly she should be involved. And I would love to be on the task force because we've talked about this for every year since I've been on the select board. So I think we don't even need to talk much more about it tonight. Just like they said, they would like a task force to be formed to look at all the different options and legalities of it. So that's my suggestion.
Okay. Helen?
Well, I was going to lower my hand, but I just want to say, I brought this up 2 years ago, given what we learned from what happened in Nantucket on the 4th of July. And they invited the state cops in because there was a situation, which is the first place to address this problem. There was media publicity. And we have to figure out how to address what is put online about Wellfleet, whether it's fake news about free parking, no permit needed, which Lieutenant Island experienced last year in spades, to there's going to be a huge, flash mob on July 4th. We need to figure out how to get to those sites and figure out how to communicate that it's not true and it's not going to happen. But I agree with Janet. We need some group to work on this and to look at it now, not, to start thinking about it now and start working on it in the fall, not next spring. Please, thank you.
Mike, is your hand still up?
No.
Okay. All right, so we'll move on. Is it up? All right, yeah, we'll move on to Chief Polly, aerial ladder truck, if you may.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm going to be brief. 2019 annual town meeting, the voters approved $285,000 for the purchase of a used pre-owned aerial ladder truck that would meet our needs. That was reaffirmed at the ballot. We went to bid last month through the Assistant Town Administrator's Office, through the proper RFP, request for proposal procedures. We received 2 bids, one in the amount of $68,000 for a 2005 American LaFrance 100-foot tower ladder, and one in the amount of $85,000 for a 75-foot Seagrave aerial ladder. They both have the ability, they're ladder trucks with a small water tank and a 1,500 gallon a minute pump. My recommendation is to go with the Seagrave, the 2005 from bid by Greenwood Emergency Vehicles in North Attleboro, Massachusetts. Primary reasons are that the American LaFrance Corporation is no longer, the other bid represents a truck that's no longer in a business that's no longer in business. They went bankrupt in 2014. Parts are very, very difficult to get. I would not at all buy one of these vehicles because of that fact, and that the truck is too big for what we need to do. And the Seagrave, the 75-foot aerial ladder, basically matches what we have now in place. It's just a newer model. So we'd like to purchase that for $85,000. Is an extra $200,000 that was pretty much budgeted for a refurb of the truck, some minor body work, a new paint job, and some upgraded lighting. So I would ask that the award and the select board sign a contract with Greenwood Emergency Vehicles for the purchase of the 2005 Seagrave 75-foot aerial ladder. Thank you.
Helen?
I really appreciate, Chief Pauly, all the documentation you included. I have no questions because of it, and thank you so much.
Chief, so for this, you're looking for us to select a specific vendor, correct?
That is correct.
Okay. So, let's see. I move to approve the purchase by the Wellfleet Fire Department of a 2005 Seagrave 75-foot aerial ladder truck from Greenwood Emergency Vehicles.
Helen, second.
Roll call vote.
Janet, actually, Michael should say aye because he's the new vice chair.
We can just go in the same order just so that we don't get confused.
I'm not smart enough to.
It's too hard to change it.
Okay. Janet, aye.
John, I.
Michael,
Ryan.
Okay, Ryan, aye. Helen?
No, Mike.
Mike voted.
You
I
did?
voted early because I just felt the second of.
Okay, Helen, I. Just leave me last, okay? Just leave me last. I don't
Leave
care.
you last, okay.
Yeah.
Motion carries 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, where are we?
We know it's
And
a good.
Mr. Chair, just the police chief.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just before we get off the business items on the agenda, just so how are we leaving the Cahoon? Does this need to be an agenda item to form a work group, or would you like me to work with administration to just to get this going, just so we can start working on this?
I think it's definitely an issue. I'll talk to Charlie as to how he thinks is the best way to handle it. I do like the idea of a task force. I'm not sure about anybody else. So Helen?
Yeah, the thing, and we arrived at this, I believe, with the dredging task force. Janet, tell me whether it's true or not. Or maybe something else. If the town administrator appoints a group, Charlie may know this already, but we could figure it out. It doesn't have to meet in the same way under the open meeting law, although minutes are always a very good idea. So we have choices there, I think. I would prefer it to be a regular municipal group with staff included, staff support, in other words. And that we do need an agenda item to figure that out.
Okay.
So when we appointed the parking task force, I was, as chair, I appointed it, and there are probably like 7 or 8 people on it, and people who cared a lot about it came forward and wanted to be on it. And yeah, it was people asking to be on it. So, and then being appointed. And same with the dredging. If we need somebody, they would come forward, or we would ask them to be on it and then appoint them.
Chief
We
Paul.
being the dredging task force.
Yep. Chief Pauly.
I could very well be wrong on this, and please correct me if I am, but at least with the parking task force, I understood that, it was my understanding that you had staff assistance, but staff was not in a position to make recommendations or to be vocal on this. And I will tell you respectfully to this board, if that's the way you go, then do not include me and do not include the police chief, because we are your 2 public safety officials that need to weigh in on this with very, very serious conversations. And I'm serious with all due respect. You know, you're talking about public safety, and you're talking about my folks, my employees, Chief Hurley's employees, safety in mind. So I don't want a task force that does not allow for department heads, public safety, and beach people not to be intimately involved with decisions. Please forgive me if I'm being too vocal or too forward, but I'm very strong on this one. Thank you.
Clear. So, on to select board reports.
You got one more there.
I do?
Chair. Yeah, your discussion of removing David Ralph.
That's not on the agenda anymore. So.
Okay. All right.
So select board reports, any? All right, seeing none, town administrators report. Charlie?
Thank you, Ryan. So I included my report in the select board package. I'd like to just add a couple of other items that have come up that I would like people to know about. We are out to bid for the 95 Lawrence Road project. The bid opening is scheduled August 2nd, and Rebecca Slick has been actively engaged in that process. She's also been working on a lot of procurement issues and a lot of grant administration issues. So you'll see more reports from her included in mine as we go along. Rebecca has also issued a posting for the building commissioner's vacancy that we have. So that's, you know, finally we're moving forward on that. That's a major concern that we have relative to recruiting a building commissioner. And there are a few other towns doing the same thing at the same time, frankly. And then I did want to just briefly talk about the financial work plan that Lisa, Mary, and I are working on. We indicated that we would report to the selectmen at each meeting. We obviously have been busy just finishing up town meeting and setting up the chart of accounts for the new fiscal year and closing out the accounts for the past fiscal year. But I'll work with the chair and would like to give updates on some of the more detailed work that we're doing because it's the most critical reason the 3 of us are here. So anyway, you'll start to see more detailed reports. I'm going to ask Lisa and Mary to attend some of these meetings because what they're doing is important. And of course, we want to make sure that the public knows what we're doing relative to this important project. So anyway, I'll work with Ryan on that. And then, of course, on Thursday, it'll be the last warrant for the past fiscal year 2021. We have asked for a joint select board finance committee meeting on Thursday evening, I believe at 6 p.m. And there is a mechanism under the law that, with a joint meeting of these two important boards, that we can do transfers from some of the accounts that have some surpluses to others that have deficits. And if you think about it, I mean, the budgetary transfer article, we already dealt with $300,000 in deficiencies for the past fiscal year. And it looks like we're going to have more. And if I had to guess, it's in the range of $100,000. But we won't know until we finish the warrant on Thursday at the end of the business day. So we would like to give you something in advance, but we can't. So we apologize for that. Right after we finish the warrant, Lisa and I will work on a spreadsheet that we can email out to the two boards as soon as we finish it. But you're not going to get it very much before your 6 p.m. meeting. We apologize. So anyway, I think I'll leave it at that. And if you have any questions on my report, I'd be glad to answer them.
Yeah, just before we get into that, the meeting is posted for 7.
Yeah.
Oh, is it 7? Sorry.
Yep, that's it. So, and then Helen?
Yeah, question. So one of the most important things that Mia did, I thought it was Mia, would be the recordings would happen and then they'd get put on the town website so that people could go and check them and use them. Who is going to be doing that now for all these different recorded meetings?
That's me. I've been doing it since Mia left. I've been putting every single committee and board meeting on the YouTube and the town website.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Sure.
Yeah,
Unfortunately, tonight.
yeah.
I've got a question.
Unfortunately, tonight's meeting is not on YouTube because I'm not sure how to do that, but it will be on YouTube when the meeting is over.
Thank you. I have a question for Charlie. So, item number 6, marijuana community impact fees. It says here, we did receive a check in the amount of $25,960.51 from Cape Cod Cannabis Wellfleet. This is the impact fee? It's not a percentage of sales yet because they weren't even open. Is that correct?
No, I believe I haven't had a lot of time to look into the details of it, but I think it's the 3% surcharge, the fee.
Okay. Yeah. It would be good to know.
Yeah,
Some of
I'll
them
double check, but I'm quite sure that's what that is.
Yeah, I can go and look at my contract, my rather community host agreement. Okay, thank you.
Okay. And Charlie, can you explain your third one, street light license maintenance agreement?
Well, it appears from, I received a phone call from Maggie Downey from Cape Light Compact. And, the Cape Light Compact organizes the bids for the Cape and those island communities that are part of the compact to help us procure services to maintain streetlights in our communities. Anyway, Siemens has worked out a deal where they're selling their interest in this maintenance agreement to this new corporation. But in order to transfer this, they need the approval of the towns. Cape Light Compact has their attorney, which is BCK Law, that provides advice to the compact and assistance to the towns. And they have recommended that we not agree to the transfer of the maintenance agreement because we're losing some protections by doing that. And based upon the legal review by BCK, Siemens is obligated. If we don't release them, they're obligated to provide these services. So anyway, at the moment, you know, I've just decided to reject the idea of transferring the agreement to this new corporation. Now, you know, maybe there'll be some mechanisms where they'll come in and make some modifications and agree to all of the protections that we have under the current agreement, but that's not the case at the moment.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, moving on, topics for future agendas.
Well, let's keep the beach, whatever we call it, the task force.
beach
Let's
task
set up
force.
something there. And what was it Helen wanted?
Well, well, I'll wait till you're done.
Okay, I was just gonna say, I think it would be good if the select board had a meeting, possibly not on the select board night, but just a separate meeting to just talk about how we work, how the town works, staff meetings. You know, we've all been disconnected because of COVID. Even things on how to run meetings, you know, just kind of have us get together, maybe with some other staff, to say how we can get town and town hall moving a little more smoothly. But I don't know if anybody likes more meetings.
Okay, John?
Yeah, to bring up something we talked early on in tonight's meeting, the idea of having a public hearing at one of our meetings as soon as practicable regarding the issue of grant extensions.
Okay.
So we should think in terms of scheduling that.
Yep. And then Helen?
Yeah, a couple things. One is that at our next meeting, we figure out who should be on the water protection, you know, water Cape Cod, you know, those two water related things that Justina was on. Number one. Number two, and I put in a request for this too late for this meeting, which is fine. But generally, there's been quite a bit of, shall we call it, discourtesy and lack of civil discourse in meetings and also in correspondence. And it isn't just happening in one way with one person in one place. And I am asking that we have an agenda item that I would word it standards for civil discourse in municipal meetings and correspondence. And if there are any individuals that we feel that we particularly want to discuss this with, that they be invited in the way that's legally required or not, but that we have a meeting about it, because things have been shifting and things have been getting worse in certain areas. And some of us have been severely harassed at times. And I think we need to talk about it together in public. So that's the second thing. The third thing, we got a very patient, polite reminder from the Historical Society about those stairs. And that was something that fell between the cracks during this COVID year, but we really need to address it because, you know, they've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for it for quite a long time. But the fourth thing is really the most time sensitive thing without any absolute deadline. We had a roundtable with the DOT, DCR. And we need to do a follow-up on that roundtable because I think we need to have the Bike and Walkways Committee give us their report. And we need to talk about, you know, letting these agencies know, not that they'd be part of the meeting like with the roundtable, just letting them know that we're going to have this on an agenda and to discuss where to try to go from there, given the options that come before us from the Bike and Walkways Committee. Because really, I think there was an opening there created by that meeting, given subsequent communications. from at least the DCR, and that we should follow up on it. We shouldn't just let it sit there because it's not screaming at us. So those are my 700 agenda items in order of preference, starting with the last one first. Thank you.
Okay, Mike. You're muted.
So I had a couple, we need to have wastewater in front of us.
Yep.
That's gonna be coming up in the fall town meeting as far as they're concerned. And we need to have a joint meeting with them. The other thing is, it's obvious tonight that we need to just sort of like define our fee structure a little bit better. So
Yeah, that's what it was.
That's right.
maybe that can be worked out, you know, through administration with one board member, or some suggestions to come to us. Maybe look at some other towns and what they charge, that sort of thing. Get that all on the table and then bring that before the board to kind of discuss, probably a working meeting. And then I guess I just wanted to point out, because this has come up, and in a previous Shellfish Advisory Board meeting, Helen kind of asserted that I had blocked her agenda item to put the aquaculture stuff on the agenda. In reality, she never actually submitted an agenda item to me, and it was working its way through the Shellfish Advisory Board. And I just want to point out that the Shellfish Advisory Board's charges to serve as a Shellfish Advisory Board to the selectmen and make a study of existing shellfish conditions and to advise relative to any plan for future improvement and development of the industry. So it's my thought that it should go to them before coming to the select board, but there was never any agenda item request, Helen.
Ryan, I didn't use the word blocked. I simply said, Mike, that I brought it up twice at
Okay.
select board meetings.
So
I didn't say you blocked it. I said
we
it.
can't really debate this right now, so.
Can't.
So, any other agenda items?
Just that Shellfish Advisory Board should be, we should probably direct Shellfish Advisory Board to look into those things.
Yeah.
Okay, correspondence and vacancies. Anything anybody wants to bring up on them?
Yeah, Ryan,
Shoot.
I really like the formula for presenting correspondence to us, which is brand new in this agenda packet. It's excellent. It's the best one I've ever seen in all the years. Thank you. Whoever thought it up, it's great. Thank you.
That's me.
Thank you.
The trick is can John do it now? Do the same thing?
Yeah, no.
I would just say that if anybody is still watching, or is watching at a future date, we do have openings on a number of committees. If you want to start getting involved in local government, step on up to the plate and we'd be more than happy to hear you out. I guess. All right, on to the minutes. So I don't know if everybody saw it, but I submitted amended minutes, basically because we were pretty chaotic when we were talking about so for the June 22nd, we were pretty chaotic about the grant extensions and the motions that and when those motions happened. Has everybody had a chance to review them?
No,
No, I mean, you just sent him like right before.
Yeah, right before the meeting.
I didn't see them, and perhaps we could wait on these minutes until we all get a chance to look at them.
Okay, so then June 8th, which no amendments were submitted for that one. Helen, you still have your hand up?
I didn't mean to. I apologize.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion on the minutes for June 8th?
I move we approve the minutes for June 8th, 2021.
I'll second.
Roll call vote.
Ann and I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Ellen abstain.
Mike.
I'm just looking. Yeah, aye.
All right. Motion is 4-0 with 1 abstention.
I have a question.
Okay.
Ryan, through you to Rebecca, forgive me. Were minutes for the round table meeting, which was a posted select board meeting, submitted?
Not yet. I'm still working on them. but
Okay,
yes,
thank
I
you.
have
I
them.
just, thank you. Sorry, I'm not saying they should have been. I'm just asking. Thank you.
Okay. And so do we have a motion to adjourn?
I move we adjourn.
Second, Helen.
Roll call vote.
Jan and I.
John, I.
Ryan, I.
Michael,
Bye-bye.
Helen, I. Good night. I love you
Night
all.
all.
Bye-bye.